There's a new chapter to the Batman 89 universe, Batman Revolution, the novel by John Jackson Miller. We're going to review and dive into the Easter eggs here. I'm Ben Wan.
I'm Norman Dingus.
Alex Ramsey.
Alex Ramsey.
This is superhero stuff you should know. Welcome, everyone. We are back in the world of the Burtonverse with Batman Revolution, a 530-page novel. Man, but it's worth every page.
God damn.
Yeah, I know. Set between Batman 89 and Batman Returns, and, well, technically Batman 89, Batman Resurrection, and then Batman Returns. But anyway, Alex and I previously went into its predecessor, Batman Resurrection, also by John Jackson Miller, on your show, Night of the Batman. We interviewed John Jackson Miller himself there. And then you, Alex, you interviewed him again for us and your show earlier this year. You can check out both shows to get the full experience on that. But yeah, you got to meet the man himself in person.
Yeah, it was definitely like, it's one of those, I'm sure you've encountered this too, maybe, but like having someone like the virtual interview and then like actually meeting them in person. Well, I mean, like we literally did this when we met because we would have the podcast thing and then like seeing each other in person, it's like, oh, this is cool, but it's also kind of weird, like, you know, because you're so used to seeing someone in this kind of format. I even made the joke, I think, when I met you, that I was just like, I was gonna make like a cardboard printout of like the back of my room and everything, so you'd be more like at ease. Yeah, you'd be at ease seeing me, basically. But okay, yes, this is how I'm used to seeing Alex.
Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, it was cool meeting him in person. But yeah, excited to actually, little spoiler here, excited to talk to him soon for a follow-up interview for this book that we're talking about today. So we definitely. It was the thing with that interview, the one I did on the floor, is he was very kind of tight-lipped for like an obvious reason. He couldn't really go into the book yet because it hadn't come out. So he had to kind of like be like, oh, I think it'll kind of keep you busy and everything like this one. And he's like, you know, that kind of thing where like he can only say but so much about the book. But the interview we're gonna have is gonna definitely be like the Resurrection one, where we're gonna go way more into like the characters and just like the, you know, some of the behind the scenes. Hopefully with it, he'll be able to talk more about it. I mean, even after I recorded that short interview with him, he told me, he's like, hey, if you want a real interview, he's like, you know, like talk to me like later, basically, like for like a, you know, full length thing, we can get like a real interview.
This was a real interview. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I paid him some money and then I was on my way. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then I know we didn't, like, other than like briefly before, we haven't really talked about like our thoughts on the book.
That's true.
Yet.
Yeah. I guess it's time for us to dive in. So since you went into all that, I guess I should start on this. But man, like, John Jackson Miller has given us something special with both of these books. They're both really ingrained in the Burtonverse. So many different things that you can tell that this is a man who really loves and knows his material too. And that comes from us over at Superhero Stuff You Should Know. So really loved Batman Resurrection. For those who haven't seen the episodes that were on Night of the Batman with Alex, obviously as a big, you know, spoiler alert, but it's been a couple years at this point, Hugo Strange fan. I was a big fan of this. Clayface is in it. Just a lot of the just very creative ways to bring them into that world. And so for Batman Revolution, he definitely did not disappoint. We have, I mean, it's pretty obvious from the cover, it's the Riddler. It's the Riddler in this one. And I think, the biggest strength of this book, and I think it's his main focus in this book, is the Riddler. And it's such a fleshed out version of Riddler. It's such a complex, tragic, and funny and dangerous genius version of Riddler that just combines so many different things that we love about the character into one that you're kind of like, well, I don't know what a Burton versus Riddler would have looked like in the 90s, but I think this is a probably even more fleshed out version of what we would have seen at that time. So all 530 pages aren't all based on the Riddler, though. There are other villains who are a part of this that we'll get into when we get into the spoiler stuff. But man, like this is it's a real treat for fans. I really loved it. I tend to prefer more Bruce Wayne focused stories, so I do think Resurrection has an edge over this, but that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy this. I enjoy both. He did say on record that he pretty much wrote it as one long tome. This was kind of split.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's just one where I slightly prefer the first half over the second half, but overall, it's a great ride. And I really hope that they give him more novels to work with because right now, for what we know, it's just these 2 books. So hopefully he'll get more in the future.
I hope so. I mean, like that was the thing. And like you said, it's a longer story this time, but even at the end, like I think the total runtime of like the audiobook I listened to was like 17 hours or something like that. And so I remember like, you see that and it's like daunting and everything when you think about it, but like no, by the end of it, I was like, okay, when's the next one? Basically, like I was like, this was really great.
I need that hit. You got any more of those John Jackson Miller Batman novels?
Yeah, come on, hey. You're like, come on, man. I'll pay you some money. Just write another one. But
So I slap my, the inside of my elbow.
Gotta get that 89 in my veins. But
let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. It start looking like the 2 thugs that actually are reoccurring characters, and this one, the ones that the American Express guys from the beginning, the 2
don't
muggers.
leave home without it.
I love how he and like you said, kind of mine are going to be a little bit my thoughts are probably going to be a little bit more scattershot, but I like how he took like biggest compliment I can give this is that I do like it slightly more than even the movies. I think that like this story and like both of these stories, I'm like I enjoy these more than the 90s Batman movies. I think that these just the character works, some of the writing, and then like even how he ties the some of the like characters, like the two thugs, like let's be real, and this is gonna be a compliment. They would not be reappearing, but I do like that they're kind of like reoccurring villains in this. Like that's something they wouldn't have done in the 90s, but I did enjoy seeing them in this. I was like, because I remember the first time, I know we were a little bit less so, but like I like that he really won me over with like bringing up these these characters, these side characters, and kind of giving them roles because it makes sense. This kind of more than Returns, it feels like it's in the 89 universe. Returns does too, and he finds a way to like weave that in where you can kind of buy it more because if you just watch Batman 89 and Batman Returns, it almost feels like it's a different universe.
Yeah.
At times, just like with the tone, like how the city looks, just like in general, how different it is. And then this one definitely, you can feel the connective tissue between 89 and then these two. It's almost like it's not alternate, but it's almost like it's in betweequels, kind of like it's obviously better than this, but I was about to compare it to like Lion King 1.5 or something.
Oh my God.
Where it's like
but that's such a fun movie.
Yeah, I know. It's like that little kind of like it squeezes in between the continuity kind of thing.
No, I totally get what you mean. Because Resurrection definitely, I was talking to one of our Patreon patrons, Nolan Moore, about this, but I was just like, Resurrection feels like an extension of 89. And then you really feel the bridge between that world into Returns with Revolution. So Resurrection feels like a direct 89 sequel, while Revolution feels like a direct Returns prequel, if that makes any sense. But yeah, you're right. If you look at it from a different lens, I remember people were keep talking about how like Keaton in The Flash, he's a different Batman. Look how different, the house and the cave look. And I'm like, the house and the cave look different between 89 and Returns, guys. Like we accept that 89 and Returns are part of the same world despite those differences, but we don't accept it with The Flash, even though like obviously there's other things there in terms of like time travel and
Mhm.
timelines getting merged. So I
Yeah.
kind of understand what they mean, but I'm like that's not the house and the cave aren't really evidence of that, considering how much differences there are. But
It's the
I
same
totally agree with you
mansion. I
on that.
mean, you know, like it's
Yeah.
like even I mean, you're gonna even compare it to like you said with Returns, but even look at Forever and like
Mhm.
Batman and Robin for the longest time because it shared some of the same cast members. By the way, guys, those are still meant to be the sequels to the
Yes.
89 movies, and like those are still meant to tie in just because it's different. I think we're so like and this is like it's strength for this one, but I do think
Mhm.
like in recent years we've been so continuity obsessed, like even
Preach,
with
brother.
yeah, even with certain things. Like I'm like the Stranger Things stuff now where people are like the this is a whole tangent, but like the where people look so meticulously, they look at stuff harder than the creators do sometimes with this
Mhm.
conformity gate thing where they were just like the show ended and they're just like, oh well, if you look at how these characters look here, there's a secret ninth episode because if you add up these numbers, then like it actually adds up to January 7th. January 7th is it's like guys, the show ended. Like you are paying way too close attention to be like this dial was a different color. So therefore, like it's like sometimes the fans of this stuff will come up with like these wild, just like out of nowhere takes. And it's like whatever happened to enjoying the story,
Right.
man? Like I don't know. Like this one, the book definitely it has fun with it and it finds ways to make everything kind of knit together and fit. I remember even back when we interviewed John, he was saying like because I think one of the things we asked him because it was this is just spoilers for the first one, but
Mhm.
we asked him about the whole Hugo Strange thing. We're like, how does that work, kind of
Yeah.
thing, and he's just like,
With
oh, I
the
got it.
89 comics.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. He's like, I got it all figured out where it kind of like trust me, like it fits, it works, nice.
He sure did. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
he knows how to weave this in with the continuity stuff. So if you guys are really canon obsessed,
Hmm.
these are the books for you because he knows how to weave it all. Like in terms of this segues perfectly into what I had in
Hmm.
terms of continuity. There are a lot of questions I see online to John Jackson Miller directly, where people are just like, "Okay, but like, is this tie into the '89 comics? Like, what's the timeline and all this? What happens?" And I told you this offline, but I'm just like, "Well,
Hmm.
guys, if you read these, it's pretty obvious. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty like John Jackson Miller makes it very clear that these books tie in with the comics and that he's changing things or weaving things so that it can all work together with that. And so, for those who aren't really sure, it's yes, the Batman '89 movie, then Batman Resurrection, like I said earlier, then Batman Revolution, then Batman Returns, and then after that are the Batman '89 comics from Sam Hamm and Joe Quinones with the two arcs with Shadows and Echoes as of
Yeah.
now. Um, Also, feel like this needs to be said because people get confused by this as well. The series is called Batman '89 because the continuity began with the 1989 Batman film.
Hmm.
Same with the Superman '78 comic, continuity began with the '78 film. It
Yeah.
does not mean that these comics take place in 1989 or replace Batman Returns or are in between
It's
the
just the
'89
brand
movie and
name.
Returns. Yeah, it's the brand name. Now, what Marvel did with X-Men '97 is they went with '97 because that's where the series ended rather than it
Hmm.
began. So I kind of get like people find it confusing because we went with the year that it started rather than ended, but whatever, we're here. Like we now
Man,
refer to it as the '89 verse or whatever.
some of these fans have been using brand X.
But yeah, I mean it's pretty apparent in the novels that they're all part of the same timeline. And John Jackson Miller writes around and he does that. He was working on this book, and I think he mentioned this in the interview with you and in other
Hmm.
interviews. He's
Yeah.
working on this book the same time that Sam Hamm and Joe Quinones are working on Echoes, and so yeah, there's some stuff that's contradictory, but he finds a way to make it work. And like, sure, he probably wouldn't have needed to do that if Echoes didn't exist or whatever, but he still manages to make it work so that he gets to do his thing and respect the comics that are set
Yeah.
later on anyway. And I
Honestly,
think
he didn't
that
even have
really is
to
a great
do
talent.
that.
Yeah, it could have been. And honestly, like we still would have enjoyed these books even if he didn't have those connections. If you cut out all the connections of the comics, the '89 comics, and it's just purely okay, it's Batman versus Hugo Strange in Resurrection, and purely like this version of the Riddler in Revolution with nothing to tie into the
Yeah,
Riddler who shows up in Echoes, we still would have been fine with it because it's just like, okay, cool. Like I'm not
it's a
going to
good story.
reject, yeah, I'm not going to reject these additional stories from the 89 verse just because they don't connect with each other, and they're not part of quote unquote canon and stuff. I'm be like, all right, cool. Like if that was the case, then it'd be like, all right, there's one timeline, I guess, where these books happen, and another timeline where these comics happen, and that's it. Just like there's the Burton films and the Schumacher films. Like you
Yeah.
can have multiple universes. Speaking as
Did
someone
you
involved in the new verse media, where we have multiple we have multiple things going on.
Did
Anyway,
you
yeah,
by the way, and this
mhm,
isn't like really spoilers or anything, but
yeah,
we're both fans of Batman Forever, obviously.
yeah.
Did you like, cuz like Alfred kind of helps Bruce in this with like some of the riddles and stuff like that. Did you kind of flash back to Batman Forever where like Alfred was kind of helping Batman a little bit, like decipher some of the Riddler's like clues and everything? It just that kind of reminded me of it with like him helping him decipher, or Bruce just like specifically the scene where like he's like mystery, the enigma, like in the Forever thing. Like
Enigma.
yeah, yeah, it kind of like I kind of was getting vibes of that a little bit. Like I was like, this is kind of cool because like in both continuities, you kind of have Alfred like at least playing somewhat of a role or like helping Bruce out with like trying, because like Batman does figure out a lot of it, but I know that obviously Alfred is interested in like the
Hmm.
riddles and stuff like that, and because it's in a newspaper competition. But like
Right.
he's kind of doing that, but like I feel like I got vibes of that anyway, or even the Batman where he's
I was thinking that
helping
too.
him do that too. I was like, this is kind of cool. Like in each continuity, like Alfred's kind of helping Bruce out, like kind of figure this thing out. Like it's kind of nice.
Yeah, and for those who are just like, well, Batman should be able to figure out without Alfred's help, it's in the comics.
Yeah,
Like I think I found a specific issue where Alfred figures out the riddle, like it's a solution to help out Bruce. Like that's
yeah.
in the comics. That's been a thing and stuff because we're talking about someone who does not think the same way that we do, and so you kind of need like the fact that he might need some help with figuring out the riddles every now and then or what they mean or anything like that is another thing. I mean, even in the Batman, people are just like, well, he needed Alfred's help. I'm just like, Alfred kind of deciphered stuff, but Bruce figured out how it would lead into the thumb drive.
Or the Tucker. Like that's one of my favorite, the carpet Tucker thing, where like that was a great moment because it
Right.
commented on like Bruce's like the different classes and
Hmm.
everything. Like he
Yeah.
wouldn't know what that is. Like that was like a brilliant moment and like just like one
Yeah.
of those like really smart writing moments where I'm like, what a like a smart thing for them to do because he
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily know what that is.
But then once he
To be
did,
fair,
then he knew how to
I
use it.
didn't either.
Yeah, most of us didn't. Let's not all act like we knew what that was, or
Yeah.
that hey, like because it's a carpet tucker, that must mean that I must use it right now on this to uncover something. That's what he
Yeah.
figured out. That's why I'm just like, I think these days we get obsessed about like my hero must be at like max potential and like max power and stuff, and I'm just like, well,
It's
then
Morrison.
you don't really have anything interesting to say then at that point if it's just that if the whole thing is him being able to do everything. Like you kind of need you still need conflict. You still need
Yeah.
character evolution. You still need
It's
the
the
character to be
Bat God
challenged.
thing, right? Like I love
There's a
Grant
Bat God element.
Morrison for the
Yeah.
reference. Like I do love his
Mhm.
run, but like he started the Bat God thing. If you read like going back to the 80s, if you read some of the Batman stuff before, like he's just a guy, like he gets like, or even the Batman the animated series, someone pointed this
Yeah.
out. It's like Batman kind of gets his ass beat a lot in that that
Yeah.
show, and like you see him obviously like get stronger and like like learn more over time, but like nah, he kind of like gets kicked around. That's more relatable and everything, and like it's you want more of that. Like the Batgirl thing is cool, but I think that people just expect Batman to just walk in and just know. Like even Kevin Smith has made jokes before with Batman where like if he saw like rerun or something from like I forget what the sitcom is, like he would just come down to the roof and just start like reciting whatever. Like
Mhm.
it's like Batman is a more interesting character when, especially this one, the 89 one is not like he is a detective, but like he's not like the comic book one where like he knows like everything. Like he needs a little help. Like he's even, I would argue that he goes through a character arc in this with like in terms of accepting help from other people. That's like a big thing in this, which I was kind of impressed by.
Yeah, I've brought this up before on the show, but there's always kind of been a weird contradiction among fans where just like, oh, we love Batman because he's human, because he doesn't have superpowers, because he's fallible, and because he's flawed, and it means he can be hurt and all those things. But then the moment that you show Batman losing a fight in a movie or something like that, then they're just like, well, he's not the real Batman. He's he's a wimp. Like he can't handle himself. And I'm just like, don't you love Batman Year One where he like nearly dies on his first night out without the bat suit, or even when you first see him in the bat suit, things do not go well. He nearly almost kills a guy.
Yeah, he has to pull him up.
Yeah, and he's getting his ass like he gets a TV, shoved onto his head. And so I'm just like, well, what happened to the day? And if we just divorce ourselves from Batman, but like classic drama is always about, it's always about the underdog in some ways. It's always about somebody getting challenged. So you can't have that if they're not really the underdog or they're not being challenged in some way. Like it doesn't work that way. Where's the drama? That's why people criticize Superman. So if like I feel like there's this weird thing where Superman feels easy to criticize, but then people secretly want that with Batman. And I'm like, well, sometimes it works and other times it doesn't. Like it's a weird contradiction that I've pointed out and I've called out, where that's why I don't have issues when, all right, Batman needs some help for this thing or that thing. Well, yeah, don't you like him because he's relatable? Like, sure, if it's something that's like super obvious, then like, all right, like maybe they should have thought that through in the writing. But other things are if like, can you honestly say you would have figured out all those riddles? Can you honestly say that you knew what was coming? Probably not.
How boring would that be, by the way? If like he just walked in. And like I'm gonna use an easy because this is the riddle I could think up. But like, say like he just walks in, and Riddler's like just sitting there. He's like, "C for Catwoman," and then like he just punches him in the face or something. And, like he's just like at the beginning of the thing, he's already figured it all out. Like that'd be the
end.
most boring ass thing. People would be like, "What the fuck? That sucks."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I do like seeing the more detective aspects in these novels too. I mean, it was really cool seeing you've got this really eccentric genius Riddler going head to head with Batman, who sometimes can keep up with him and sometimes can't. Like it's really interesting to see that, and I think that's the right balance because again, like, sorry to say this, but not sorry, Riddler pretty much has to be somebody who is smarter than Batman in order for that to be a challenge. If you have Riddler always getting beaten by Batman, then I'm like, well, then why is Riddler such a good villain? What's the point then? If he can always figure out the riddles on time, always stop Riddler, show up, like you said, like in the second scene, he's found Riddler and says, "See for Catwoman," punches him, and then cut to dun 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 dun, and that's the end. Like it's just it doesn't work. Where's the drama? The drama has to be a challenger, somebody who, and in the process, forces the hero to grow and have to like up his game. Otherwise, again, what's the point? We don't need to watch 2 hours where the hero's already a badass and doesn't grow and doesn't do anything. We need to see the growth. Otherwise, where's that whole relatable factor that makes you love Batman?
Yeah, Batman would not survive as a character if there wasn't some form of drama or like something to overcome. Like it wouldn't have survived this long. People would be like, "This is boring." Like he just like because like obviously like superhero content at the end of the day does have a predictability to it where most of the time you know the hero's gonna win at the end, but like it's not necessarily that, it's how they get there that's like the interesting part of it.
Yeah, exactly. So check out Batman Revolution is the book. We have gone into our non-spoiler thoughts as well as a little bit of a tangent on Batman stuff. But I mean, it's not quite a tangent because it's still on the character. But I think it was an important thing to go into because it's sort of our little soapbox in terms of Batman as a character. But anyway, we'll be diving into the spoilery, Easter eggs, all the good stuff, all the stuff, how it connects with the other Burton stuff after the break. Hey guys, if you want to hear more of us outside of Superhero Stuff You Should Know, you're in luck. Both Alex and I have shows and other work that we produce outside of this podcast. Alex, let's hear about your other podcasts.
All right, so obviously I know you guys are a fan of superheroes, so I'll start off with I have Flashbacks, a Flash rewatch podcast where we cover every episode of the CW Flash show. Also, if you're a fan, I know you can see in the corner the Batman thing. We have Night of the Batman, where me and my wife and occasionally other guests cover everything Batman related. Ben was actually on the show, and we interviewed John Jackson Miller. And also, we covered his book, Batman Resurrection. So definitely go check that out. And also, if you're more into like kind of a vague kind of movie-ish show, kind of like a vague like What Mean kind of vibe, then I have What Mean podcast, which is also great. That's just vague like movies, TV, music, just whatever I kind of feel like covering. That has made a comeback recently. So look forward to that. And if you're into just TV in general, and especially nostalgic TV, I would recommend Review More Girls. My wife and her cousin cover it, and that show heavily deals with family, the Gilmore Girls show, and they talk about their own personal, their personal family life, and also just how they relate to each other, kind of like the two main characters of that show. So definitely go check that out.
Awesome. Yes, I've been a guest on both Flashbacks and Night of the Batman. I've not watched enough Gilmore Girls to be part of Review More Girls, so I don't know if I'll be making an appearance on that one. But on Flashbacks and Night of the Batman, I've been there, and it's been fun. So definitely check those out. As for me, outside of this show, I'm both a voice actor and a writer. On the voice acting side, I'm currently voicing 3 different versions of Batman on YouTube. Yes, I'm the voice of Batman in the Arkham Tapes. That's an analog horror series produced by one of our collaborators, The Bat Feed, in which I play a Bruce Wayne who's injected himself with the powers of the different Rogues Gallery members, becoming this monstrous version of Batman that you see there. And I am also the voice of 2 other versions on Newverse Creative. That's one of our favorite channels. That's NEUVERSE. This is a channel that produces audio dramas and motion comics, where I've contributed my writing to episodes devoted to expanding the worlds of the different versions of Batman, not only adapting the movies, but also adapting unmade scripts, junior tie-in novels, or existing comics and just setting them into the movie continuity. So basically, it's the dramatized version of a lot of stuff that we cover on the show. I'm also the voice of both the Michael Keaton Batman and the Val Kilmer Batman in that. How did that happen? I have no idea, but somehow I landed it in there. Nobody's called me out as a fraud yet. So I adapted the original scripts for Batman Forever when they were produced in 2 audio dramas, one produced in the style of the Burtonverse with me as the Michael Keaton Batman, like you see here, titled Tim Burton's Batman 3, and the other in the style of the Schumacher film, of course, called Batman Forever, the Schumacher cut audio drama with me as the Val Kilmer Batman. So if you're a fan of our Batman coverage, you won't want to miss these. And if you'd like to check out my original stuff, I also self-published my own indie comics. So check out my indie comic series, Alter Ego. This is a mix of Batman No Man's Land with X-Men and The Departed. 5 families of supervillains have taken over the city, and our main character goes undercover as a henchman to eliminate them one by one. And this is now available on Amazon. I say now available. It's always been available on Amazon. That's really the only place you can get it, other than just off of me. So the 3 issues are available on Amazon. There'll be more. You can also get the variant cover of issue 1 done by Alex himself that we see in the middle right here. So this is cool. And that is my first indie series, and the other one is my manga, Musashi and Son. This is based on the real-life samurai Miyamoto Musashi, who wrote the Book of 5 Rings. If you've studied martial arts or any sort of Asian martial history, Miyamoto Musashi comes up a lot in the Book of 5 Rings. And this is the story of how he adopted a son. Think Samurai Batman and Robin in this. They go from village to village, hunting down the bandits that murdered the boy's father. Also available on Amazon, and the link to my Amazon author page is in the description that has all of these available in their different forms, both on Kindle and in print. You can also get merch for both my comics at my TeePublic, which has a link in the description. You occasionally see me wearing either an Alter Ego shirt or Musashi shirt in here, or a Superhero Stuff You Should Know shirt. If you want Superhero Stuff You Should Know merch, that's in here. On top of that, I have an animated movie coming out, directed by a friend of the podcast, Aaron Quinn. It is a faithful adaptation of the James O'Barr graphic novel, The Crow, that I co-wrote with Aaron, who will also be animating, and I will be the voice of the Crow. So that's our plugs. Check those out when you can. We are back. So it's time to dive into spoilers. If you haven't gone away already to get the book, or if you don't care about spoilers and want to
What are you
hear us
doing? Get
instead,
out there. Get
yeah,
the
but
book.
you should. You should get the book. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's dive in. Batman Resurrection is centered around the Riddler, and in this one, his name is not Edward Nigma. And I think we talked offline about how it's kind of funny how in recent years there's been more and more of a push to make Edward Nigma an alias as opposed to just his name. So here it's Norman Pincus
Lyle
and
Heckendorf. I mean,
wow.
Norman Pincus.
So yeah, the full history of this is like late 80s comics. I think it was in one of the question issues they revealed like, oh, your birth name was Edward Nashton and you
Yeah.
changed it to Nigma, which I'm like, okay, makes sense. But then we started getting really fully out of Edward with other names. So we've got, as we covered in the Batman Forever script deep dive, in the Batman 3 script by the Bachelors, it was Lyle Heckendorf, who then uses Enigma as an alias at one point. Then the Batman 2022 of Paul Dano, Quentin Tarantino's favorite actor, has him as
What the
Edward
hell was that
Nashton.
all about, by the way? That was so weird. I mean,
That
like,
was weird, but it just
yeah.
made Paul Dano look better, honestly, because of how, like, he didn't say anything, and all these people just rushed to defend him.
He's a great
And
actor. I'm like, what the hell is this Tarantino thinking? Come on,
I
man.
don't know.
Anyway, sorry.
I
Like
don't know.
we
Yeah.
get back to the thing.
Edward is Nashton. He's sometimes Nigma. And then in Batman 89 Echoes, which we'll talk a little bit about because there's connections here, but there's a character named Edward Nigel Maynard,
Too
who then, of
much.
course, shows up in Batman Revolution. And we established that the Riddler in Echoes and the Riddler of Batman Revolution are two separate guys.
Mhm.
So there's Maynard in Echoes has a likeness based on Martin Short, while Norman in Revolution, of course, has, I think we all guessed what it was going to be, because I know John Jackson Miller in our interview hinted like, I'll share who my casting choice is later, but it was pretty obvious who it was going to be. It's Robin Williams.
Oh
The
yeah.
likeness is based on Robin Williams, who was, as we've corrected several times, he was Joel Schumacher's choice for Riddler in Batman Forever, but everyone online associates him with being Burton's choice. And to be fair, in the late 80s, early 90s, that's the name that was bandied around a lot. Like, I mean, you look at some old magazines and they're just like, maybe it'll be Danny DeVito as Penguin and Robin Williams as Riddler back in like 89's first release in terms of them spitballing
Mhm.
stuff. So
Yeah.
now
You know what's
Robin Williams has
crazy
kind of been retconned into it. Go ahead.
about this image right here? So
Mhm.
obviously in the book, like this looks great. It's like a well-fitted suit.
Yeah.
But in the book, the
Yeah.
suit's actually described as like ill-fitting, basically, where it's like really baggy and everything, and like how the glasses kind of dangle off of his like
Mhm.
face and everything. Like it's kind of implied he kind of looks like a chump when he wears, like, he obviously comes into the role,
Yeah.
but like when he wears it, it's kind of like a very loose fitting suit on him. It's not like very, like, this looks good, this looks
Yeah.
cool, but it's not as tailored as
This is a
this
great
illustration looks.
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about that. Maybe one of the revolutionaries was a tailor, and then they just took care of it in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah. They're like,
Uh,
you gotta look better than this. Let's fix this up for you.
yeah. Now, obviously, Batman Revolution is a novel. So, in terms of like, what are we looking at right here? For those who don't know, this is a art promo art image that was done by Joe Quinones from the Batman 89 comics, and of course, everyone recognized Robin Williams off of this image. So, it's also very hard not to picture Robin Williams when you read the book. That too.
Definitely.
So it's because I know I'm on record being like, yeah, it's a little weird or hard sometimes to picture him in the role when you're reading the Batman Forever script. If you've watched Batman Forever countless times, like Alex and I have,
Not if
it's
you've
hard
listened to
not to.
the
But
Newverse
yeah,
audio thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you hear the Newverse one and you hear our Patreon patron Nick Gonzalez do an amazing impression and performance as Robin Williams as the Riddler, then that's when it clicked in for me, as I keep saying, and
I
it's
can't
still
wait till
true.
you guys adapt this, by the way, especially
Oh
certain
man,
scenes, man. It's gonna be so
yeah.
good.
Yeah, no, the a big portion of this when I was reading it, it was like, "Oh, man, I can't wait to do this."
Oh, the dinner
For
scene. I can't wait to get to it.
oh, man. Yeah, so for those who are wondering what we're referring to on Newverse Media, as they're called now, it used to be Newverse Creative, but we do audio adaptations, and I contribute through writing as well as voice acting as the voice of the Michael Keaton Batman. We are currently working on the Batman Resurrection audio drama as a mini series because that book is very thick, and we wanted to give it justice and not just try to condense as much as possible, but actually really bring it to life. But of course, we wanted to make sure that there were, what things in Batman Revolution are important so that we know to keep that in Batman Resurrection. And so that's all in development on its way. And I would expect that we would get Nick back to do the Norman Pincus Riddler in here. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm honestly looking forward more to hearing him
Yeah.
than me playing anything in the drama. So yeah, it's a big part of why I'm just like, oh man, I love this. I can't wait to do this and this and this and this with it. But anyway, yeah, this is the Riddler of Batman Revolution, and
Yeah.
also we're not just introduced to him; we're introduced to his mother, who is Martina Pincus. And as far as I know, this is the most fleshed out we've ever gotten of Riddler's mother in anything.
Yeah. As
Like,
far as
there's
I know,
some
it's usually
mentions,
about his dad. It's usually
yeah,
like
like the
his
abusive
dad's
dad
kind of
thing.
abusive and
Mhm.
everything. Like I did like, and obviously like it kind of helps that like this is like another kind of similar. Making about something creative I did for a second. I had like the
Yeah.
Crusader prequel series
Oh
where it had
yes.
like a
Mhm.
Riddler type character that was called the question mark killer that would probably go on to he was going around killing people leaving question marks,
Mhm.
but and would hijack like the news feed and everything, but kind of would inspire the Riddler, kind of similar to this. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's interesting because then with this, you can kind of get more creative with like what you do with this character. If there's already another one, you can maybe lean into other aspects and
Mhm.
something that John Jackson Miller, as we've already seen before, really excels at is the sympathetic villain, like
Yes.
the villain that you just feel like so sorry for. There was moments in this, and it's kind of I would equate it to in the Psycho movie where you see the like the first like black and white Psycho
Mhm.
movie where you see like the car that has like I forget what her name is, but the girl that he kills in the
Yeah, Janet
shower.
Leigh. Yeah.
Yeah, where you
Marion
see it
Crane.
sitting and then it kind of stops for a second and then like the
Mhm.
audience is just like, "Oh no." And they're like, "Wait, why am I wanting like him to get away with this?" Like there's
Mhm.
moments where you're like you're kind of like almost not wanting Batman to catch up with Norman basically just because you feel so sorry for this guy and just want to see him
Mhm.
like succeed
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm just like, hey, like Batman Resurrection had some focus on Bruce. A lot of it was on the sympathetic villain
Hmm.
with Clayface, but here it really is about Norman. It really is about Riddler for a lot of it. Not every scene, but
Yeah.
the Norman story is the strength of this novel for sure.
Yeah.
But Norman is not just the Riddler. This was the first surprise that came to me. And I was just like, oh, like maybe it's just a cute Easter egg until it actually like developed further.
Yeah.
Martina nicknames her son not Riddler, but the Bookworm because she hangs around the library and he hangs around the library with her. And again, I just like, oh, like that's cute, like kind of a subtle Batman 66 reference. And then later on, I'm like, oh, it's not a subtle Batman 66 reference. It is a Batman 66 reference because Norman uses the Bookworm name later on in this novel. And so I thought this made a lot of sense considering that Bookworm is mostly relegated to just the 2 episodes that he was in the Batman 66 show. Obviously, there's been some other appearances later on, but in that he's also a really intelligent dude in a suit
Hmm.
with glasses in this case, like it's like it does
Huh.
make sense to combine the characters because there's a
Wait, does
lot
he
that they
have
have in common.
the metal patch between his glasses like some nerds have like the little tape right
Yeah,
here to
actually.
keep their
Yeah.
glasses together? Is
Yeah.
that what that is?
Maybe, and it's supposed to be like a book binding type of thing because like he's
Yeah.
the way that they gave him somewhat of a hard leather look to his jacket. I'm
You
talking
know,
about
Ken, it
Bookworm
looks
and
like
Batman
it's made out
66,
of a
yeah.
couch or something. That thing looks crazy.
Well, think of like a vintage book, like an antique
Ah,
book, the book bindings, that's why they had it that way for Bookworm. So
what's the hat
that's
supposed to
the thing.
be? Like that's an interesting hat
A
he's got
I think that's
going.
a book light. I think he
Oh,
has a book
okay.
light on it that he turns on. But anyway, the Bookworm and Riddler
Huh.
are combined in the Burtonverse, which I think makes a lot of sense for when you consider the character. I'm like, okay, he reads a lot. He's also intelligent. He also is very insecure as well.
And
So I'm
where he
like,
lives too.
and yeah, there's also the library aspect. So
Yeah.
it made a lot of sense. There were two characters who you don't really think about amalgamizing. But then when you do, you're just like, oh well, that makes perfect sense. So props to Miller on that. That was the first big surprise when I started reading this.
Yeah.
In this opening, with the flashback as well to Norman's past, it's mainly him finding out about the death of the Waynes, and he sees the headline, which of course stays true to the headline that's seen in Batman '89 of how Thomas, prominent doctor killed and that type of stuff. So this reminded me of the Peter David Batman Forever novelization, which also has Edward Nygma as a kid in a library seeing the
Oh,
headline
wow.
of Wayne, the Wayne murder. So it's not just young
You
Edward
think he
Nygma,
read
but
it?
he's literally that.
I
It
guess we can
probably
ask
did.
him.
Yeah. This version of Riddler had a much happier day than the bullied young Jim Carrey one in the Forever novelization. That one
Definitely.
was pretty twisted, but
Yeah.
it's cool to see the two connections of that before we kind of dive off into our own direction with Riddler in the story.
Yeah.
In the present day, Norman, as established in Resurrection, is the copy boy over at the Gotham Globe, and kind of has the closest person he has as a friend is Alexander Knox, which was kind of cool. That was really cool, and I liked that Knox is fleshed out more in these novels. Like Knox isn't just like, oh, like he's just going to show up every now and then. Like he's a full on character in Batman Resurrection and Batman
His
Revolution.
last appearance was in the Arrowverse, the Christ
I'll
of
be right
Infinite
there,
Earth.
big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good to see him back.
but I think Knox is almost at his most likable in this book because of the fact
Yeah.
that he's the only one looking out for Norman. He's the only one who really notices him. He's the only one who thinks to include him. And yeah, he's sometimes annoyed by him or thinks like maybe this guy's gonna cramp my style on this double date. But
That was such a
really is looking out for him.
90s. That was such a 90s, like, movie moment. Like, I was just like, this is perfect. Like, I remember
Yeah.
just enjoying this. Like, he's got like a real knack for like nailing character voice. I'm kind of jealous, honestly. Like, he's got like a real like gift for like just honing in on like someone. I know he does like a lot because I asked him one time about like I think The Crow or something. So I know he's a fan of that dude, right? He's like, if I did that, I'd have to basically, like he said, watch and read everything associated with it. And I'm like, that's like, like that's
Pretty
amazing because it's hard to nail. Like as someone speaking personally, I'm writing a Smallville audio drama for New Verse Media.
It's media now, yeah.
Yeah, got you. I just wanted
Until
to
he
get
changes
right.
it again.
Yeah, New Verse Media, and it's hard sometimes to nail the character voices. So like, I'm always really impressed, especially with Knox. Like just some of the dialogue I can hear Robert Wall saying, and then like I even got like. I know we're in spoilers right now, and obviously I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but I know he's not going to be in return. So, like, I kind of got this moment where I was like, oh, man, like, I'm kind of getting attached to this character. I'm going to miss him, basically. It's like the vibe I got.
Yeah. I think, too, that the way that Knox, I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but I like what Miller did with Knox towards the end because I was honestly afraid that he was going to die at some point. I was afraid, like, well, this is going to explain how he's not in returns. We'll just kill him. I'm like, but then when I saw what he did, and also it became more and more apparent that Miller is a fan of Knox as opposed to Daniel Waters. That I'm like, it doesn't seem like he's going to do that, and he didn't.
Amanda was
I
a
think that was a good
fan
move.
of him
Oh,
when
really?
we went to that Carolina theater and saw it in that old timey theater. Like that's the first time she saw Batman '89. And she was saying like she liked the romance parts, but she's also saying like she liked Knox though too. And she was just like, why didn't I think she even said at one point, it's like, why didn't Vicky go for him? He's cute. It's what she was saying about Robert Wall. It's like, hey, good for Robert Wall. Nice.
Awesome. But there's a kind of a vibe too of like, hey, if Batman and Bruce Wayne don't exist in this world, then we could have had a quirky workplace comedy thing, romantic comedy thing with Knox and Vicky, but you throw Bruce Wayne in the equation, and obviously that doesn't end up happening. But you can kind of see like, oh, if Bruce Wayne doesn't exist, then this would have been Knox's movie in some way.
Definitely.
in the first story.
I love Knox.
Knox as well at one point in that movie says copy, and there's this copy boy who shows up, and John Jackson Miller posted this screen cap saying like, hey, did you know that there was a copy boy in that movie? And there's no listed actor, but when you kind of look at him in his features, I'm like, you know what? He does kind of look like he could pass as a young Robin Williams.
He does it
So
again, man.
he does it again. Yeah, in terms of the hidden character, because the Hugo
Yeah.
Strange one in Resurrection, I was like, oh man, like he was the guy who said yes, sir, when Joker tells him, ship them all.
Yeah,
So
that's brilliant though to like have
yeah,
like the like just be watching that and just like in the back of his head be like this random extra that just had like 2 seconds of screen time. I'm gonna like
yeah.
write into my book and make it like a major character. That's really smart.
And that way, the next time you see 89, you can do the Leo meme
Yeah.
thing and just point at the screen and be like, that's Riddler. That's
I
Hugo
did
Strange. And
that
everyone else.
yesterday. I was watching something and I didn't know I was doing it. I was watching Stranger Things. And I've obviously seen Stand By Me. I'm rewatching the first season of Stranger Things
Mhm.
because Amanda hasn't seen it all the way through. And there's a part where the kids are walking on train tracks, and I just do the Leo pointing meme. I'm like, that's like Stand By Me, is what I'd say. It's just like, what am I doing? Like, I was just pointing at the screen.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Man, it's so funny how a lot of Leo's career has devolved into memes and stuff. Not to knock on the movies he's been in, but he's in so many different memes compared to any other actor. It feels like so, but that
Yeah,
one
he's the
for
meme
sure.
guy.
Yeah, that one for sure. We go to present day, and Bruce Wayne. This is an unexpected part, but it definitely was one where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see where this goes. Which is that Bruce Wayne is thinking about the deaths of his parents and
Yeah.
the fact that he caught Jack Napier, but he doesn't know what happened to the second mugger. And that was a cool thing to bring in because I'm just like, okay, clearly Miller's setting something up, and he's not going with the fan theory or the idea that this guy was Bob the Goon, because otherwise Bruce would have known at
Yeah.
that point.
He does
So
kind of look like him a little bit.
maybe a little bit. I
More
kind of
cleaned up
reason,
Bob the Goon.
yeah, I'm jumping in because I might as well go into it now as opposed to later because this does
Yeah.
pay off. But
Oh, yeah.
I
I thought about
feel,
you when this came up. I was just
yeah,
like, Ben's gonna be so happy.
I am happy, and the reason why is that because people have debates in terms of is this Joe Chill or is this Bob the Goon? And there are people who feel like, oh, it should be Bob the Goon because he's an actual character in the movie, and Joe
Yeah.
Chill is just a comic book thing, which I understand. And Michael Uslan is on record saying, hey, this they added a second mugger, which is not in the comics or other adaptations. It's only really in this one, but they added him so that fans could presume that he was Joe Chill, so that there would be a Joe Chill and a Joker at the crime scene. The reason why I don't think it's satisfying to have it be Bob the Goon or young Bob the Goon is that that means that Batman never has a chance to confront him about it. He just
Yeah.
gets killed by Joker. And then it's just like, well, that other guy was involved in the murders, but I never really got to talk to him
He
about it.
also
The end.
followed him though too. He wouldn't be like, "Hey, asshole, I remember you too." Like after he
Yeah.
realizes, like even before then, like I'm sure, like he'd be fighting him at one point. Be like, "This guy seems really familiar."
Yeah. So, I mean, sure, he didn't really recognize Jack Napier until the Dance with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight thing,
To
but you
be
would
fair, he
think,
looked a little different.
yeah, yeah, I think for sure. But in terms of Joe Chill or Bob the Goon, I was like, to me, it works better if it is Joe Chill, and now it's canonized as being Joe Chill,
Yeah.
as opposed to, oh, it's Bob the Goon, and he didn't really think too much about it, and then Bob gets killed, and Batman never really has a chance to confront him about it or do much about it, and that's it. I
Yeah.
mean, realistically, you do work with different people throughout your life. There's a good 20 years that happens in between the deaths of his parents and when he becomes Batman. So to say that Jack Napier is still working with the same dude several years later, like maybe, but to me, it's just more satisfying this way. And I like what we basically like what Miller did with this.
Definitely.
And
Um,
also, I'm just a Joe Chill fan from
oh
growing
yeah.
up with that Untold Legend of the Batman.
And I think that the way they kind of wrapped it up and or just like in general how they because this Joe Chill's a little different than obviously the comic book
Mhm.
one because this one just took some he was just stealing and then like you even see in the movie like he kind of is just like oh shit
Yeah.
whenever like he kills the Waynes because it seems like that was not the plan originally. Like they were just gonna hold them up, take the stuff, and then run. Basically, like the vibe he gets, he's just like fuck. Basically, after he sees that,
Yeah.
like he looks like kind of terrified after Jack did that.
I got to give props to the actor. That his name is Clyde Gaytel, but you can tell in just that one look what you were talking about
Yeah,
just now. In terms of just you can see it on his face in terms of like this wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
when he's like holding the broken necklace in his hands. Like
He's about
that's
to
such a
kill
great moment.
Bruce too. Like that's the craziest thing. Like he's contemplating killing Bruce. He's
You
like,
know,
"Come
that's
on, let's
right.
go." Yeah.
If anything, Joe Chill kind of saved Bruce's life.
Yeah, because he's like, "Come on, Jack!" Like he's just like, "Let's go," because he had time, and then like you see him reconsider. He's like, "Okay, the cops are coming. Let me get out of here." Basically,
We might put this in the new verse anyway. Going further, there are other surprises in here. One of the others is that there is a serial killer going around killing people with a bow and arrow. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Who could this be? And then they started calling him the Archer. And I was like, oh my God, Batman 66 again. Art Carney's villain character, the Archer. He obviously doesn't look like this when I was thinking about it in the book, but Miller really goes in his own direction with the character. There's not really much that the two have in common other than the
I
fact that
went back and watched it. Like after like hearing, I'd never seen it before, and
yeah,
like I was after reading, it's like, oh, this is cool. It's kind of like this serial killer kind of guy who's like
yeah,
obsessed with like music and it's like art and everything, kind of like that Joker thing to an
mhm,
extent, or like the whole, homicidal art. Like this one's kind of
yeah.
that same theme. And then I went and watched this episode. I'm like, this ain't like this at all, man. Like
No,
these, like
no.
they're kind of like Ren Fair bros in this, where they're
Yeah.
kind of just like crooks, basically.
Yeah,
Kind of.
there's very little. Obviously, Miller was doing his own thing with it, and I'd be very curious to hear more when we do the interview on your show
Mm-hmm.
about it in terms of like, okay, why this character? Why the Archer? Because there's a lot of different, like, more obscure Batman villains in the comics as it
Why
is.
not Egghead?
Yeah. I feel like Egghead, the way they set him up though, when it's Vincent Price, he's supposed to be among the A-listers of the Batman 66 one,
Yeah.
but with Archer, again, like if you think about it, Batman 89 is kind of the original gritty reboot that we do. So it
Yeah.
does make sense to bring in Batman 66 elements. I mean, people have already brought up the comparison that Joker ruining the paintings in Batman 89 actually evokes a similar moment in Batman 66 when Cesar Romero does the same thing. Same thing with Penguin running for mayor in Batman 66
Oh yeah.
before Batman Returns. So
Kind
it
of
does make
brilliant when
sense
you
to have
think
that.
about it. Like just
It is,
because
yeah.
I don't know about you. I did not expect them to like or him to remix kind of 66 villains. Like that
No.
kind of took me aback where I was just like, whoa, okay, like that's it's a good
Yeah.
though. Like there's a lot. Like I think one of the things I might ask him is like it's like if you were to write another one, who's another one you'd kind of maybe retool or something? Like if you had to, retool another 66
Yeah.
villain, basically. Like I'm trying to think because at first I was like someone like False Face, but I was just like, nah, that's basically just like
Clayface.
Clayface. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
So
they even did that in the Batman 66 comics where they said Falseface's real name is Basil Carlo. I'm like, okay, well, I get what you're doing there.
yeah, he's
But
like, all right,
Egghead would
guys.
be interesting. Egghead would be
Yeah.
interesting because again, he's a much heavier character in Batman 66 because it's Vincent Price. You've got the great Vincent Price here. He's called Egghead because he's supposed to be a genius. I'm like, I feel like there could be something there that's beyond the
I
famous
gotta see
behind the
those
scenes stories
episodes.
of
He had a
yeah,
funny name, so that's
yeah,
why mainly
yeah.
why I brought him up. That's interesting.
It's got to go beyond just like the famous behind the scenes story of Vincent Price throwing eggs at Adam West and stuff like that. That has got to go beyond that. I know
Hilarious.
that the Egghead episode features a character named Peter Savage, who then becomes the commissioner in the
Oh,
Batman 2022. So there's some Batman
that's
66 connections too. But yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty
because
cool.
Reeves is a fan of the
Yeah,
66 show, which is hilarious.
right.
Considering it's
How
like, but I don't
different.
know. I don't know, because like even Miller was talking about that where he went through kind of like the history of
Mhm.
Batman, how at the time when he was younger, he did not like the 66 show. He thought like it like brought like like the common sentiment where he's like it's
Using
ruining Batman, that whole thing, but then he's like he came to respect it and like it and kind of see like all interpretations for the most part are like valid in some way, shape, or
yeah,
form, and he came to really appreciate the 66 show later on in life, which I think we all kind of go on that journey a little
yeah, for
bit.
sure. For sure.
with that
The
show.
one of the more unexpected moments on the Batman Forever panel that I did at LA Comic-Con was when I'm next to Michael Uslan, and I think I mentioned the Batman 66 show, and he does, like, this gag face to it. I'm like, "I'm sorry, Michael, I didn't mean to trigger you." Like that I didn't know he was gonna do that, but I was like I felt like I had to address it when he did that. But
That's
it is
funny.
you do kind of go through your own phases and be like, oh man, if it's not dark Batman, it's not the real Batman. And I think people have sort of grown since then, and
Mhm.
you see that with people embracing more of the Schumacher films, as well as how I think not to go too much into it, but with the criticism of Batman versus Superman, it kind of just like, hey, like Dark Batman isn't immune to criticism. Like no
Yeah.
matter how you feel about that movie, it's like you have to admit like that one is controversial to people, and there are a lot of people who don't like it. Like dark, just because it's dark doesn't mean that everyone's going to universally love it. So I
Yeah.
think people have grown since then in terms of like, oh, like he can be dark and he can be light. He can be any of these things. They can have multiple different interpretations, and since there's so many versions, you can just ignore the ones you don't like.
Exactly.
You know?
It's kind of like it's Superman is much more, I think, one of those where like you can maybe do like a little bit of playing around with that character, but Batman much more it's like I mean, there's just a podcast I listened to kind of made this point too, and I agree with them. But
Mm,
they were just like, you can divide Batman up into eras, basically, where it's like
yes.
different versions. Like sometimes he's fighting aliens. You can have him fighting like, like be the gritty, fighting crime kind of thing, or like the teaming up with like bright and colorful superheroes and everything. Like you know, he's so malleable that like and I think that's why he's so popular is because you can
Mm,
do there's so many different versions of him. There's odds are it's kind of like ice cream. I'm like there's a flavor out there for you basically. Like
sure.
you'll find something you like kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes us so spoiled as Batman fans. Is like, oh, you didn't like that Batman movie? That's a shame considering that there are like 200 others you could pick from. That's why I was just like, oh, the Batman Part 2 seems like it's been delayed. I don't know. What will I do with all my time? Like
Yeah.
what other versions of Batman could I possibly spend my time with in the meantime?
Yeah, exactly.
So this other Easter egg is in here. Robert, the officer who told Gordon about Napier cleaning out access chemicals, he shows up. He's a character in this too. I was like,
Eckhart,
that's pretty
sir.
good. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Come on, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
uh there's this press conference at the library. Max Schreck has a much bigger role in this one. He kind of has a little bit more of a cameo in Batman Resurrection, but he has a much
Mhm.
bigger role here. His department store plays a much bigger role here. During the press conference, he even has one of his phrases he says later on in Batman Returns, where he's like, "Shame on you," and I think that I tweeted Miller about that being like he even says "shame on you" here, and he's like I couldn't resist. I think is what he told me.
That's
That was
awesome.
great. Yeah.
But there's another one, Selena with the stupid corn dog thing.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
she says that like so much. I like how even he makes things like he was puzzled by. I think Knox was puzzled by
Knox.
her. Like she kept saying that. I'm like, I like how he took like one of the lines that Selena said like one time and made it like a reoccurring thing with her. I was just like, that's nice. Like I like that. You can tell that's probably something that Miller kind of heard. Like you can feel it in these how big of a fan he is of this.
Mhm,
Like you can definitely tell a fan wrote this, and like especially with like little stuff like that, where like
mhm.
only a fan would like focus on stuff like that. Make a point
Yeah.
of it and have fun with that kind of stuff. If it was somebody just writing it, like you wouldn't get little stuff like this, or even like the dedication to like the side characters like this, like bringing them in. Like I was delighted with having some of these, like kind of callbacks. They're not even callbacks yet when you really look at it.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
kind of before the movie happens. But yeah,
I was not expecting there to be any sort of connection between Alexander Knox and Selena Kyle in anything. Like,
yeah,
you just don't think about it because 'cause they're in 2 separate movies, and then it's like, "Oh, cool, they got Selena back," and I'm like, "Oh, Selena's playing a much bigger role in this." Like, she kinda just shows up in a couple scenes in Resurrection, and you think, "Oh, that's cute." And in this one, it's like, "Oh, she plays a pivotal role in
yeah,
this," and just seeing her dynamic of Knox is and them investigating, like, what happened to Norman, I was like, "Oh, man," like, you just picture this movie You just picture this movie with Michelle Pfeiffer as like the mousy secretary, executive assistant, Selena Kyle with Robert Wuhl's Alexander Knox, like going in and out of like her apartment or other places, or him at Shrek's
It made me
department
feel
store. It's really great.
even worse for like with
Yeah,
what happens to her in Returns. I was like, oh
yeah,
man, like that
exactly.
made me feel even more sympathy for her in Batman Returns. Honestly,
Mhm. Yeah. So, in terms of timeline, it's revealed that Batman 89 took place in the fall, presumably of 89. So, Resurrection does take place 6 months later. So, that would be spring. And then this takes place in the summer, closer to July 4th, around presumably 1990. So, that kind of gives us a general idea.
yeah,
During this, Batman not only has to suit up, but he has a new vehicle called the Bat Van, which is in the comics. Yes, it is in the comics. It was introduced several decades before. It ended up playing a role in the Tim Drake Robin comics. But I think to me, I mainly remember it from the Tim Drake Robin comics because
oh yeah,
Alfred would have to drive him in this Bat Van. So
that's so
it has a
funny.
similar purpose in helping him travel more incognito compared to having the Batmobile.
Nice. Yeah, like that was it was interesting. Like obviously we do see Alfred in here drive this, which was
Mhm.
kind of fun, but at first I was having a hard time kind of picturing it, but then after a while I kind of got like is it kind of transforms, right? Like the
Yeah.
van does, like it transforms between like a police, it's meant to mimic the
Yeah,
police cars,
the new
what they call
vehicles
them,
that they're developing.
ARTs or something.
Something like that. Let me
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
the thing. Obviously, there was a lot to absorb, guys. We
Oh
might have
yeah, yeah.
forgotten some
This
details.
it's like a 17-hour audio book,
Yeah.
so like I understand.
But anyway, it's an interesting addition. Like
Yeah.
you see, there was the roost in Batman Resurrection, as well as like this camo translucent suit
I
that's
want to
in
see
Resurrection.
Quinones draw that, honestly, because I was kind of wanting to see like that, like graphically, like interpreted, basically, to see
Mhm.
what that would look like.
I'd be very curious too.
Yeah,
But I think this is a cool pull. So like the Roost formally is not in the comics, though I could ask him in the next interview, like, is that supposed to be the flying Batcave from the Silver Age? Because
yeah.
that is a thing. But that's the closest thing I can think of.
Knowing him, it probably is. He knows like
Probably, yeah.
a ton about comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we could see, because obviously if he only knew the movies and stuff, he wouldn't have had Hugo Strange in the last
Yeah.
one, Clayface done in
No
that
offense,
way.
it wouldn't be a Daniel Waters thing where it's just like a, oh, I guess I did tie back into the
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 comment.
comics.
That
Whoops.
was in my podcasting career, that might have been one of the not only highlights, but one of the funniest things ever. Where he's just like, "Yeah, we were edgy, we were punk in terms like we didn't follow the comics at all." I'm like, "Oh, well, Daniel, we do have these penguins with the rockets on their backs, and we do have a blonde Selena Kyle, and we do have the Selena Kyle who's in the alley with all these cats around her." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, maybe you weren't as rebellious as you thought."
It's
But
hilarious.
it goes to show though that they had a good, in my opinion, grasp of the souls of the characters and knew what to futz with, right? So like
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
there's a
yeah.
like going back to the Knox thing real quick. There's like a moment in this that kind of just sums up his character's like luck with women, where like he the girl he's with, and obviously we'll get more into this later, but like wanders off with like a rich guy, and like you just see his like it says it's like his face just sinks, and he's just like, oh, he's a rich guy or something. It's
Yeah,
like, oh buddy, like that was just such a perfect line and just a perfect moment for him. I could totally see Robert Wool delivering
same.
that perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For the cinephiles out there, there's one part where Batman is thinking about a Gary Cooper movie. I looked it up. That movie is Sergeant York, which is a movie that my dad had growing up. So I was just like, it wouldn't be that one, right? Because it's the only one I can think of in terms of a Gary Cooper movie that's set
Yeah.
during the war. But that's the one.
Hmm.
Now,
This movie ties, or not movie, damn, it feels like a movie. This book kind of ties into like film history a little bit too, right? With
a,
like the
yeah, a bit with his father. Norman's father
yeah,
is supposed to have been this screenwriter, and of course they're like made up movies for it, but there are aspects of it for sure.
yeah.
So one of the other characters introduced is a lawyer named Roscoe Jenkins, who is supposed to be the future mayor, the mayor who's in Batman Returns. And in here, he's a lawyer who's in the class action lawsuit against Axis.
Oh.
So this is hilarious to me because in the movie, he's just called the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
But in the novelization by Craig Shaw Gardner, his name is Mayor Jenkins. Just Jenkins. There's nothing else.
Roscoe Jenkins.
I don't know where Roscoe came from. There's a movie called, I think it's called Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, but that was way after Batman Returns. But anyway, there's many fan wikis who refer to this character as Roscoe Jenkins, but I've never found a legit source. Like it's not like in all the scripts that I've found, it's just the mayor, the mayor, the mayor. I don't really think that there was a specific name unless Daniel Waters comes back and tells us otherwise. But now in Batman Revolution, just like with Robin Williams, like, there's this misconception, but now it's canonized. It's canon now that his name is Roscoe Jenkins. So there we go.
Wasn't that
Roscoe Jenkins? Everyone.
Do you remember that early internet meme with like I think they were playing some sort of video game, maybe it's like Call of Duty or something, and then like they're like, all right guys, we're gonna go, like it's like these guys and they're like playing online, and like you hear like their headsets and everything. It's like, all right guys, we're gonna go sneak in and like we're gonna get these guys and everything. It's like, all right, let's go. So all of a sudden you see one of the guys just jumping up like that and rolling in. It's like, it's Roscoe Jenkins. It's like they goes in and like just starts shooting, and they're like, God damn it, Roscoe! Like they're kind of like getting like pissed off, like he ruins the whole thing. Like
maybe that's where it came from.
I couldn't get that out of my head whenever I heard Roscoe Jenkins. That's what a name too, by the way.
Yeah, again, I don't know where it came from. It's a similar thing to everyone refers to Lieutenant Eckhart from Batman '89 as Max Eckhart, and I'm like, where does Max come from? It's not in the novelization.
That's the first time I've heard that. Max, it's not in the scripts. Eckhart.
And I get like, just like there's a Harvey Bullock and Harvey
Lieutenant.
Dent. Yeah, I know, right? Just like there's a Harvey Bullock and Harvey Dent, I do understand there would be more than one person in this universe with the same first name. There's already a Max Schreck in Returns, but I'm like, why Max Eckhart? So I don't know the origin of that either. It's
Maxwell,
just
please,
Lieutenant, right?
Maxwell Eckhart. He'd be more erudite if that was his name.
He's Maxwell Eckhart, and it's Maximilian Schreck.
So there you go.
Now it's technically different. One thing too with Norman, we get to know him more through this, and he's got this very like meek persona, but he's able to turn things on when he's tipping people off as the bookworm. And I was just like, oh, this is so perfect for Robin Williams when you're reading
kind of relatable a little bit, because like I don't know, I've told Amanda this too, like in real life, like I like in public settings and stuff, like I can be like a little shy if I know the person, or it depends, certain social circles I can be like that. But I was telling her like podcast me versus like everyday me, or just me and like at work or something, or like two different people.
Yeah,
basically. And it's just like with this, it's like podcast me is much more like animated and like trying to entertain and like a little bit louder and like more showy than I kind of compare it to like Christopher Lloyd a little bit, at least with how Norman Pincus is, where like if you ever see an interview with Christopher Lloyd, who played Doc Brown in Back to the Future, he's very like kind of quiet. He's like his voice is very low. He's kind of mumbles a little bit, but when he's Doc, he's very animated. It's like Marty and everything. Like he's always like performing these big movements and moving his arms around and everything. That gave me those vibes with Riddler and everything, or even the Bookworm when he's has these different character voices and does different things with his voice and everything.
Yeah, I was definitely picturing him in his future role. He wouldn't have played this already in this era, but 1 Hour Photo, when he signed 1 Hour Photo, he's very like quiet, meek.
I gotta see that movie.
Very under the radar type of thing. And I was just totally picturing Robin Williams from 1 Hour Photo for this. Now, again, I've kind of ranted a little bit in the Patreon where I'm like, people bring up like, oh man, Robin Williams as the Riddler, like he could have been so dark. He could have been like 1 Hour Photo. It could have been like Insomnia. I'm like, guys, we're talking about, not only are we talking about Batman Forever being the movie that he was attached to, but we're talking about a time period before people even knew he could do that.
Yeah.
Like at most drama wise, he did Dead Poet Society and Awakenings, but like it wasn't one where he had played a villain or a dark villain or somebody twisted yet. And so I think people sort of retroactively think like, oh, Robin Williams as the Riddler under Tim Burton could have been this dark, twisted version. I'm like, look, maybe they could have been ahead of their time, but most likely it would have been something closer to Batman Forever.
Yeah. Or it would have been like, who knows, man? It could have been one of those things where they saw how Joker was like animated and stuff in '89, and maybe we would have had the thing all over again, where like it was one of those things where he was a lot more animated and like quirky and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So Norman is very much under the radar, but Knox is the only one who seems to see him, and so Knox recruits him to join him on a double date, which turns out to be a major step towards turning Norman into the Riddler. So
Yeah.
we are going to go into the transformation of Norman into the Riddler after the next break. Hey guys, every month you get a new episode of Superhero Stuff You Should Know. Isn't that right, Alex?
That's right, Ben.
Yeah. But what if you could get more and support our show? So you can get an extra episode of our show per month if you support us on Patreon over at www.patreon.com/superheroSYSK, where you mainly get the $5 tier or the $10 tier. On the $5 tier, you'll get your name shouted out at the end of the episode from Alex himself in a Stickley voice, or maybe some other voice. We'll see what happens with this episode.
That's right, Ben.
What the hell is going on here?
What the hell is going on here?
You'll also
listen up, he's gonna tell you.
We'll also have early access for you to all our videos and episodes if you're part of the $5 tier. You also get an exclusive episode each month for that tier. So an exclusive episode could be about a deeper dive into a novelization. We covered the Alan Grant Jr. novelization for Batman Forever on there. We can also cover comics or alternate history of comics. We've done like the what if in terms of what if Jason Todd had survived a death in the family. We have reviews. We sometimes cover news. We sometimes do deeper dives into smaller things. We had a whole 2.5-hour episode on each of the characters who showed up in the mural, the Hall of Justice in James Gunn's Superman. Though I gotta say, that's probably like our highest viewed Patreon episode, looking at the views there. Yeah. Or it's the same guy who just couldn't get enough of our talk about the Ghost of Flanders. You know who you are. So on the $10 monthly meetup, you'll get to meet and chat with Alex and me about all the latest superhero news, movies, TV shows. This is a virtual meetup in a Zoom setting that we usually have on like a Wednesday night.
It's not in person.
Sit down and talk about it. It's not in person. Sorry, we can't fly us all over there. You got to pay a lot more to the Patreon to do that. And in some ways, the other perks you get on the $10 tier is you get to influence the show in some ways. We give you sometimes the options of a poll to vote on things like thumbnails or even what episodes to cover, and you also get the opportunity to submit questions for future guest interviews that are in the StreamYard setting that we're doing, where we have enough time to cover everything. So if this is an interview episode you're listening to or watching right now, there's probably some Patreon patrons who were able to submit some questions for this one. So check it out. And if you want to help us out, but you can't afford an ongoing monthly Patreon subscription, totally understand. That's okay too, because we're also selling collections of Patreon exclusive series. These are playlists of the $5 tier episodes curated by myself that are kind of sold individually. You don't have to sign up for a subscription. You can just have a one-time donation, and you can have it per each playlist that you want to get. We have playlists of deeper dives into things like the Tim Burton Batman films, of course, one of our specialties. We've got the movie magazines for Batman 89 and Batman Returns. We covered those. We also have an episode-by-episode deep dive into the Penguin Show. If you love that show too, like I did.
How much does it cost, Ben? $100? $200?
$100 per episode. No, it's not $100. It's more like $12 for the entire thing.
That's a bargain.
Yeah, for what used to be months and months of Patreon episodes, I put them all together for you just for $12 or so. So you can just donate $12 and get all that content and not have to worry about a monthly subscription. So check that out. And Alex says that it's a bargain, and he would know because he also, before he became co-host, used to be a fan who was a Patreon patron who was donating and was an audience who was part of those episodes. So
that's right.
Thank you, Alex. Now, what if you like the show, but you don't just want more content? You want something, tangible, something to hold in your hands, something that you could even wear. Well, you want some merch, and we have that too. As you can see, I'm wearing this Quick Change Bruce Wayne shirt resembling the Kenner action figure that was famous that a lot of you guys, I know you're a superhero stuff you should know type audience. Either you're listening to it or you're somebody who's a good candidate for it if you recognize this shirt in the wild and ask, where did you get that shirt? So we can tell you, here's where you can get that shirt. This is an exclusive superhero stuff you should know styled shirt designed by a fan of the show, Cole Watkins, very talented artist. He helped design this. This is a special superhero stuff you should know version. As you can see, the red bat says superhero SYSK, but it does not mess with the overall quick change Bruce Wayne dynamic that you see here. This shirt not only resembles the action figure, but also has been worn by a Batman. Yes, it's been worn by former guest of the show, Carl Newman, who is the movement double for Michael Keaton in Batman 89 in the suit. And he brings the action figure to life here, looking like he's right outside Wayne Manor, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's just chilling out. Good. Yeah. So, and then all the comments, of course, all want one. So if you want one of your own, go to our TeePublic link in the description. Go to the link there. You can scroll down. You'll see a variety of different options you can have. It doesn't just have to be this long sleeve shirt, though most people will go for that because it resembles the Michael Keaton action figure the most. But you can also get this design on t-shirts, stickers, mugs, and at the same time, you could also get the same stuff from the logo that Dan designed. Yes, our new logo from Dan of Superhero Stuff You Should Know. You can get that type of merch on TeePublic on the same types of things, either tank tops, hoodies, mugs, stickers, hats. They're all on there on the TeePublic, as well as merch for My Comics, Alter Ego, and Musashi and Son. So any of these will help basically the show, and it's money that you pay that does not go into us spending it on batarangs or things like that, or this grappling gun and that type of stuff. It goes to paying Dan for the work he does for us. He's our producer, our editor. He does a lot for us on here. And the money goes to him as well as goes to the StreamYard subscription that we use that enables us to record in this way. So please get yourself some more of our show, get yourself some merch, and support us if you can.
And remember, you gotta have your superhero stuff you should know merch while you're watching superhero stuff you should know.
That's right. It's not a superhero stuff you should know episode without a superhero stuff you should know ball cap.
That's okay. They can get it next time, Ben.
And we're back to talk about the origin of the Riddler, which starts with Knox. That was not something I was expecting. So if we were to go back to that green suit we were talking about earlier, where does it come from? I always like seeing what's the origin of the green suit, because unlike somebody else, unlike other people, so Poison Ivy, green and red, makes sense. We're talking about plants. But Riddler in green, I'm like, okay, why does it have to be green? Like, obviously, we know it from the iconography, but like, why green specifically? Like, there's nothing really that connects green to riddles. So I like stuff in terms of like, oh, like it comes from this abandoned leprechaun outfit in the Batman 3 script from the Bachelors. And here, it's basically that's the best suit that Norman could get when Knox gives him money for it to go on the double date, and he shows up in this sad suit that before it gets tailored, of course, like this beautiful Quinones art. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious, and also hilarious how Knox becomes the accidental inventor of an icon in some ways. And because in the Sam Hamm draft for 89,
wait, go back to that for a second. I noticed an element of that. Look at the I didn't notice this till now. Look at how his this part of it kind of, it's a question mark.
Yeah, it's his lapels become a question mark.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. It looks really good.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So guys, check out the Quinones art for Batman Revolution. But Knox is kind of plays a role in the origin of the green suit. And that reminded me of how in the original Sam Hamm draft for 89, Knox is the one who creates the bat signal. He puts a bat insignia on one of the big lights that's at the parade, and he basically shines it on a balloon to alert Batman that, hey, like, look over here, get rid of these balloons and stuff. So Knox is just going around creating the iconography of Gotham City.
He owes him that grant, by the way, after all the favors he's been doing him.
Exactly. So that was a really cool aspect. And then we get this double date where he's with this girl named Elena, who, spoilers, but she turns out to be the secret identity of the revolutionary villain Camille. Now, originally, I was starting to think maybe Camille, because there's a chapter where like Camille it's indicated Camille's not a real name and that she's about to go to work. And then right afterwards is a chapter where it's Harvey Dent and Batman, and there's a mention of a female aide. And I was just like, that could be it. She works for
Yeah.
Harvey Dent. This is amazing. And then I get to this part, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably likely this girl who works at Shrek's.
Yeah.
So Elena is Camille, but it's a double date, and so she brought her coworker Selena Kyle, and so we now have the Riddler and Catwoman, the future Riddler and future Catwoman, on a double date with
That was
Knox and the other one. That's
that
wild.
was great, man.
Yeah.
Because at first I was just like, I don't know, but then I was just like, you know what, this works. I like this. This is like, and the way he writes it, because like it's definitely a different skill writing, like an
Mhm.
action kind of like thriller writer, and then going into these kind of like
Mhm.
comedy moments, and definitely like he nails this kind of era of comedy, and like even the jokes, like down to some of the jokes that like Norman will say, or just some of the jokes in this. I'm like, I could totally see this
Yeah.
being like in a 90s script or something, like just the dialogue and the feel of it. And then like this disastrous date and everything, because like he kind of comes alive, but he kind of has delusions of grandeur too, where he thinks that like he's got a shot with Camille, or
Or Elena,
Elena
yeah.
at this point, as he knows her. Yeah,
Well,
like it was one of those.
technically, he turns out to be right, kind of.
Yeah. But yeah, he's not like incelly in this, but we do kind of get well, it's straight up stated that like Camille's like his first kiss and like first
Yeah.
like time and just everything, and like
Mhm.
he's lived a very secluded, and it makes sense with how his mom is, because she's very much like, no, you just stay over here, you don't
Yeah.
like seek credit for this, like you kind of just like the work's enough, you don't need to like put a spotlight on yourself and everything. And you can kind of see through it. He doesn't really see through it at first, that it is self-serving
Mhm.
for her so that they don't
Yeah.
get like eyes on them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
They have an interesting dynamic in terms of him and his mom, where she's very much a fleshed out character. It's not just a one dimensional, like, oh, like she's the mom who was overbearing, and so he resents her, and that like
Yeah.
there's complications there. And I thought that was really well done. And then this dinner scene, like you said, if you pitch this idea to me and being like, yeah, it's a double date, and guess what? The future ruler gets on a date with the future Selena Kyle. I'm just kind of like, all right. I mean, it feels very fan servicey, but then it's the strength of the writing. So it's not really
Yeah.
necessarily the idea; it's the way that it's done. And a lot of times, and I think people don't really understand that is like so much of this is down to execution. You can have great ideas that are terribly executed, and then you can have seemingly like, okay, that might be a bit of a stretch, or that's a little nuts type of idea. But when it's executed well, you're just like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think that's what ends up happening here.
Yeah, and even like down to just some of the ideas in this, where it's just like there's so much going on, and it never feels like all the villains and everything. This never feels like convoluted or like like overstuffed or anything. Like this
Mhm.
could easily feel like an overstuffed book or something if he played, because there's so many like different things that he's balancing, like the different villains and just all the different characters, and it never feels like everything serves a purpose, and it never feels like that you're just like, oh, I wish I got an additional scene. It's like everything is kind of balanced perfectly, where like you're
Mhm.
reading it and it's just kind of like, no, everything works. Like you don't go away from it being like, well, they could have cut this character, or I
Mhm.
didn't need this or that. Like everything serves the story, and that's not as easily like said and done as you'd think it would be.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well said. I agree.
Yeah.
During this double date, Norman identifies that the phrase leaky lines is an anagram for Selena Kyle. And this is actually a reference, I think the first reference to the Batman 89 comics, where Selena Kyle will later create the company Leaky Lines as a cover in her disguise for creating tech support for
Huh.
Barbara Gordon. So that is something that is now retconned in a way to being that she got that line or that name from the Riddler. So great
Wait a
stuff.
second. Selena Kyle works for this is one of those moments where I haven't read that far ahead. So wait, Barbara Gordon and her work together, and she's
Kind
kind
of.
of,
So she poses as like tech support to help like fix her computer and stuff, but she's really bugging it.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that, but okay. Interesting. All
Like I
right.
said, certain ideas. Anyway, so
Mhm.
Nick and Eddie, the muggers from the opening, like you brought up, they first showed up in Resurrection as the guys who sell the stuff that actually turns out to be contaminated with Smilex and are
Yeah.
partially responsible for the birth of Clayface. They show up here too, and Edward and Selena fight them off. It's amazing. It's funny. It's hilarious. It's a again very fan servicey scene that is pulled off because of the humor that Miller has and is something that those guys would like. There's no way it would have actually happened in the movie, but it's really
Yeah,
fun to
no.
picture when you read it.
It kind of reminds me. I brought this up before in flashbacks, but there's a it's out of continuity now. But there used to be this series called like Tag and Bink are Dead, where it's like these two kind of bumbling idiots who stumble through the Star Wars like original trilogy, where like they're just like they start off as stormtroopers and they like mess up the Death Star or do something to where that ends up blowing up, basically. And then like
Mhm.
there's another cover where like the Emperor's like, all right, now prepare my sponge bath. And they both have like these, you see them pull up, they're the Red Guards, you see them pull up their mask and kind of go like, I don't know about this. Basically, like they're those kind of characters. This is how I kind of see the two thugs in this as
Yeah,
being like these kind of stumbling from plot line to plot line in each book, basically.
right. We'll see if they come back if they bring John Jackson Miller back for
Oh, I
these
hope
books.
so, man.
Another Batman 89 connection in terms of the comic. So first we had Leaky Lines,
Hmm.
with the tech support thing or the cover identity that Selena was doing in those comics. But in Batman Resurrection, Hugo Strange uses an alias, Hugh Auslander, to pose as this benevolent guy who's going to help cure the Smilex victims, but really he just plans to get to his monster men serum, create these monster men, and unleash them on Gotham. He's then arrested and thrown into Arkham at the end. Spoilers for Batman Resurrection. That's too late. But I already
You had
gave
a
it away.
chance
But
to read it.
you had a chance to read it. It's been a year or so, and you're already listening to the spoiler review of the sequel. But anyway,
What's wrong with you?
Batman 89 Echoes, however, around the same time, starts establishing that
Hmm.
Hugo Strange used to work for Wayne Enterprises and that he developed these different types of chemicals like the original fear gas and this gas that makes people forgetful. And so that's why during our interview on Alex's show, I was just like, well, how does this end up working? Because Hugo Strange is now a known criminal. How does he end up doing all these things? Are these under the Hugh Auslander name? Is that a way we can do it? And he's like, Miller was pretty much like, I got a way. And
Yeah.
what he does here is very cleverly reconcile it by being like, hey, he already used an alias, Hugh Auslander in Resurrection. So here it's established that he had also used a different alias, Nicholas Sebastian, before the
Mm.
events of Batman 89, where he created these, the fear gas and
Yeah.
the amnesia one for Wayne Enterprises. And so Bruce then finds out, oh, like Hugo Strange was actually behind those proposed toxins that he rejected. And so by the time you get to Echoes, it makes sense when he's just like, oh yeah, he used to work for me.
Yeah.
Very well done. Very well done, Miller. Again, like if you're really entrenched in continuity type stuff, canon type stuff, Miller is your guy to try to reconcile everything.
Definitely.
At one point, Batman and Norman Pincus are looking for the last remnant of the Carl Grissom Empire, who's an accountant named Addison Fish. Mooney? No, Addison Fish. So
Oh
Fish,
God.
Jada Pinkett Smith, everybody.
I hope
But
not.
I was the accountant. She says, no, this guy,
Just wait till one of these guys becomes a character in the next Jackson Miller book. That's one of these background thugs.
this guy, he's an accountant. He's good with numbers. He could be the
Yeah.
calculator.
Or
But
even
yes,
these two thugs in the back could be Tweedledee and Tweedledum or something. Yeah.
But I kind of wondered if this guy was meant to be the accountant who tells Grissom, like, hey, if he ties us in with Axis chemicals, we're dead and buried. I
Huh.
was like, it could have been this guy.
That could work.
It could, yeah. So that could be Addison Fish, Mooney. And the mention of Grissom's place being, there's a mention where it's like it's above the Flugelheim Museum. And I was like, that's interesting. That's probably how it actually was in because people bring up how cramped the Anton First Gotham really is.
Yeah.
When it was basically people were just like, oh, it's just a bunch of sets, and like, yeah, they were, and look how amazing they were at that
Yeah,
time.
seriously.
But like City Hall is like right next to Flugelheim Museum
Mhm.
in that layout, but then that also means that Carl Grissom, if he's on top of Flugelheim, that means that he's literally this is how much of a G he is. He lives right across the street from City Hall. Like that's how much he can't be touched. But it also does beg the question. I'm like, okay, so if Joker takes over Grissom's penthouse and that's above Flugelheim Museum, why does he need to enter through the front door to do the whole like let's broaden our minds in order to access? But
You wanted to make an entrance.
yeah, exactly. It's the theatricality of it.
Mhm.
So, moving further into Norman's story, we meet the publisher of the Gotham Globe named Bellamy Brooks.
Hmm.
I got to ask Miller on this because I was wondering if he has read, he probably has, the Sam Hamm Batman 2 draft, because one of the rich guys who's part of the Five Families is the publisher, the boss of Vicky Vale at the Gotham Globe. And his name is Harrison J. Provost. So I'm like, it could have been a cool connection, but also it's not like that script is canon to the Burton verse anyway. But it was just something I thought about.
Yeah.
Overall, though, we kind of get the origin of the Riddler. He does have, to quote the Killing Joke, one bad day in terms of like getting canned from the Gotham Globe, his mother dying. But there's also like other elements from the comics where I feel like this is almost the ultimate origin for the Riddler, because you have the element of like, okay, Riddler's a detective, which is something that Paul Dini in the Detective Comics really did. Where Riddler had like some sort of amnesia. He forgot that Bruce Wayne was Batman. He was trying to be on the path of redemption, and he's solving crimes as a private eye. And I always thought that was really cool, like a cool evolution idea. I once pitched an idea on this podcast of like, well, like what if you actually extrapolated that and did a version where Edward Nygma starts off as a private eye or detective who's kind of rivals with Batman and decides to sort of one up him and then creates the Riddler. And I feel like
Yeah.
this is like the closest thing to seeing that come to life, short of me writing that one out. So, but I mean, this is so good. I don't even really want to write it at this point because I'm like, this is the better version of it.
Yeah.
But Norman wanting to help Batman and getting rejected. Let me know if you felt these vibes. So I'm just like, man, this is like the reverse or inverse of Batman Forever, because in Batman Forever, Nygma idolizes Bruce Wayne and then he gets rejected. Here, Norman doesn't seem like he's that connected to Bruce Wayne so much as he's connected to Batman. He wants to help Batman. He's giving him these clues. And then when they finally meet, he gets rejected. So I was like, that feels like a different take on that. So cool, though.
It feels like a more like wholesome version of what happens in the Batman with the whole
that too.
No, this is not how this was supposed to go. Like whenever he's just like he thinks they're working together and everything, like that kind of vibes with that. Yeah, definitely. It was one of those where this is Batman before he has a Robin or something.
Yeah.
He is not looking for partners. He barely works with Gordon.
Yeah.
At this point, where he even there's drama about it later, but he kind of he breaks his trust a little bit, but like he which I know you'll probably get into later, but he's still working on, even though obviously he doesn't see the contradiction of, dude, you work with Alfred all the time, but you can't accept help from this other person who's like helped you out with so many things, or just like not saying you have to like show him the Batcave or anything, but you could at least like use this guy as an occasional informant and just like compare notes or something. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah, the Bookworm stuff and having Bookworm as like this tipster was a really cool twist in terms of making that a Riddler origin. So I really love that. And then another aspect that felt similar to the Batman of the Matt Reeves universe is how Riddler is involved in this like revolution against the elites and trying to represent the downtrodden and thinking, like you said, like he thinks that he and Batman are like at least aligned before. In this case, like he thinks they're aligned before he starts doing all those sorts of things. So we have a little bit of the Reeves verse, a little bit of Schumacher Batman Forever, a little bit of the Paul Dini detective stuff, a little bit of a tragic origin that we see in a lot of other sympathetic villains. Like there's so many different great elements to this that really flesh out Norman and really make him feel like a real person, a real character, somebody who would become the Riddler. And so I think that's, again, this is such a great Riddler book because of all
Yeah.
these things.
And then the Max Shrek stuff too, with the whole like, I think originally maybe a little bit. I don't know if this was ever confirmed, but like, or I think we've talked about this before. Max Shrek kind of has some Trumpisms a little bit, and definitely in this one, I kind of noticed a little bit of parallels where like he's trying to kind of, and obviously in returns he kind of like messes with like the offices, instead tries to get Penguin elected and everything, but like there's like him, like Max Shrek leaning into the whole like rah rah America thing, and like trying to lean into the whole patriotism thing, and like kind of putting that on to try to appeal to people to get votes. So there's some parallels,
Right?
in
Yeah,
this.
with the 4th of July setting, and like you said, with the people who are in the patriotic type stuff, the long speeches to try to get everybody on his side, like that. You can kind of see that with
some parallels.
Yeah, with that, and the fact that his status, remember, like before the presidency type of stuff, we have this parallel because of the whole not necessarily specifically the department store, but like buildings with your name on it, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like he was very much evoking the 90s version of
He
that
doesn't even
in Returns, because that's what the era.
I love the moment, by the way, like, because obviously he has the cat mascot, and he's like, Shrek didn't even like cats or something like that. Like, that was great. He's just like, it was basically just marketable. Yeah. And he's like, they're like, I guess he identified with the whole, like, they could be, I think the line is, they could be on the street one day and then in the lap of luxury the next day, basically.
Yeah. Like, I think here, like, when the first one, when I saw Shrek was in it, I was like, all right, like, kind of a cool cameo. Might not have been super necessary, but as a fan, you like it. And then here, it plays such a big role that it does feel like, oh, even he gets more fleshed out. Like, even he gets a little bit like, what was life like for Bruce Wayne versus Max Shrek before Penguin enters the picture on that one Christmas?
Because they
enjoy
know
that.
each other. Like, that's the
They
other
do, yeah.
thing too. Like, there's that previous kind of back and forth where you kind of like, these guys know each other. It kind of weirdly made me. I've seen this. I've seen on Facebook of all places, like a Batman fan group where they have like the Max Shrek action figure. It kind of made me want to go out and get that, because they have the swappable head where he's like the bird, like, skull. I remember recently someone's like, damn, what would you think his name would be if he had like lived after that? And I kind of joked. I was like, Black Mask, basically.
Yeah, right.
I
was just thinking that.
yeah, the black skull. I was like, it would have worked. It would have been crazy, but it would have worked.
I think somebody did. I once saw a fan art. Send it over to us if you guys can identify it. But I think it was him as Black Mask, and then it was kind of just like, you thought I was dead? Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Oh man. So yeah, Max Shrek is in it. Like Chip Shrek is in it, but really it's all feeling like this is a bridge towards Batman Returns.
Oh, speaking
through
of
this Riddler stuff, yeah,
the certain character,
yes.
right?
yes.
I was putting my hand up, guys, for the audio only
for the listeners.
Yeah.
So the Riddler is born. We're going to see other Batman Returns stuff, but we do have one more break, so we will catch you after the break to talk about the rest of this. So see you then. Hey everyone, I wanted to share about my manga, Musashi and Son, the one that you heard about in the previous break. It is my take on the legendary samurai, the real-life samurai Miyamoto Musashi. I had the pleasure of discussing this at LA Comic-Con with fellow podcasters Jonathan London of Geekscape and Zach Schaefer of $2 Late Fee. You can check out the episode Geekscape Live at Comic-Con, LA Comic-Con 2025 for the full panel. But this is just a snippet where Zach of $2 Late Fee got to ask me about it, and we went more into it. So check it out. Thank you.
Can I ask Ben a question?
Yeah, of course. Because you guys are you guys are on the same network. Yeah. Please, you're friends.
I only see Ben. I see Christian maybe more than that, but Ben once a year. Ben has like 3 or 4 comics in front of us and a graphic novel trade looks like. And I looked through one. It's Musashi and Son.
Yeah.
And
I sold that at a panel.
Beautiful illustrations, but I just kind of went through the writing a little bit. It's really fantastic.
Ben's a really good writer.
Ben's got some cool stuff here. I'm kind of tripping out. But I look at Musashi and Son, and I'm like, James Liu would be a great lead in if there was a film version of this. Put some beard on him and put a long hair, for ponytail and whatnot. I think it would be pretty awesome. But I'm tripping over your stuff. It's so cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been in the works for a while. I mean, the first time that Jonathan brought me onto the panel, I was like, I've got issue 1 in the works, and now I got 3 of one series, and the other one is Musashi and Son, which is, we sold a copy of it earlier today at a panel because it catches your eye. Like the Ira is the name of the artist, and she does fantastic work, and she's also really fast and does fantastic work, which is rare in the comics industry. So I owe her pages because she's a lot faster than I am in the writing, so I have to do it. But yeah, it's essentially based off the real life story of Miyamoto Musashi, who is known for the Book of Five Rings and all these duels. But one thing that I found out about his life was that he adopted this one child that he found who was an orphan. The orphan was sharpening a sword, and he's asking, why are you sharpening the sword? And the kid says, well, my father died yesterday. I'm not strong enough or big enough, because he's 10, to carry him up the hill to bury him. So I'm going to take the sword, I'm going to chop my father in half, and take it up in 2 trips. And Musashi says, how about you don't cut your father in half, I help you, but in return, I train you to be a warrior. And so he trains this boy to become a samurai himself. Flash forward many years later, they fight side by side together in a battle. We don't really know what happens in between. So this story is about how that came about.
Wait, hold up. Is this folklore or is this actually...
This is the folklore.
This is the legend as it's told,
This is the legend of Musashi.
This is a great story.
I'm going through, here are the details of that, where you have a child whose father is a fisherman, a farmer. He's someone who's been shown affection the way that we're used to. But Musashi, his only way to show that he cares is to teach a kid how to kill somebody.
Because right here in this panel room, Zach's son is sharpening a sword that was given to him by somebody on the Comic-Con floor. And we just need Zach to keel over. And we can see if Bodhi...
James Liu will come over.
We'll see if Bodhi wants... Hey, Bodhi, you want to split your dad in half? I ain't training you to do nothing.
And if there would be a role for Steven Seagal in the film version, everything we've talked about would actually
I'm all for...
one thing.
I loved working with James Liu. I'd love to work with James Liu again, but... Steven Seagal and Bodhi.
That's a minor character. We know James is the lead, but there has to be somebody Steven could be.
There are villains.
Perfect.
Because the boy lost his father in my version.
He gets a cake thrown at him and he eats it.
And so Musashi's like, I'm going to train you to wipe them out.
So a Russian sympathizing bandit.
Ben,
we found a spot for
where
Steven
can we get
Seagal.
this book? Where can we get your book?
You can get it on Amazon, or if you're here, if you're interested, you can just buy it off of me. I have copies.
We got 20 minutes left in this con. What are you talking about?
And that is Musashi and Son. You could check it out in the Amazon link below under my author page. We have Volume 1, The Ring of Earth, that you heard me talk about, and then Volume 2, The Ring of Water, is releasing this year in 2026. You can get both off of Amazon. You can also get merch on our TeePublic that we list below under my name. You get all the superhero stuff you should know merch that I talked about earlier, but also Musashi and Son. So check that out. Thank you. We're back to continue talking about Batman Revolution and all the Robin Williams references, actually, because the next few parts there were a few things where I'm just like, okay, I don't know if this is deliberate, but probably is, considering there's this Riddler persona that gets born. And at one point, he's doing these announcements. You can call in, and you can get if you solve certain things in the crossword or in puzzle stuff, and he'll give you clues. And sort of Riddler's announcement and being compared to being a DJ did feel like a reference to Good Morning Vietnam for Riddler. And then some of it might be because it's the '90s, but there is a mention of 1 Hour Photo in there. Again, it's the '90s, so they're not obviously referring to the movie.
See that movie?
Yeah, I'd recommend it. I'd recommend that. As well as if you can track down the episode of Law and Order SVU. He was the villain for one episode in that. I think he either was nominated or he won the Emmy for guest star for that one.
He's such an underrated actor, honestly.
Good. He's so good. I did like him in Insomnia, but I feel like these are the better roles in terms of seeing him for as a darker character. But around this time when I'm reading Batman Revolution, and I've just heard Nick's version of Robin Williams face off against me twice in Batman 3 and Batman Enigma, I was like, I should probably check out these Robin Williams villain things just so I can kind of see a little bit of how that could have gone. That's cool. But then the next surprise comes from the last villain. So one of the big things that came up that I learned from your interview with John Jackson Miller in the Night of the Batman version was like, he teased, oh, there's multiple villains. So we get here. I'm like, okay, cool. Obviously there's Max Schreck, but then there's and Riddler, but then we didn't see the Archer coming. We've got these revolutionary characters, but they're not really the Rogues Gallery.
Yeah, it's like the Eterna Militia, and then they're the slaves of, or the servants of freedom.
Sure, yeah, something like that. Honestly, the revolutionary stuff to me just kind of felt like it's the vehicle to provide Riddler followers. I wasn't necessarily as interested in them because, we're Batman fans. We want to see the Rogues Gallery. So there's a character that's been protecting Camille throughout, and he's called Rotorback, and he goes by, a different alias that we know isn't an alias. But I'm reading this just being like, okay, like, is this Rotorback? I don't really know anybody like that. What could this be? And then it's finally revealed when he gets his nickname that he is Killer Moth. We get the Batman 89 universe version of Killer Moth. I was not expecting that. The closest that we got is that Killer Moth is the boss of the first level of the Batman NES video game from 89.
Oh, shit.
Yes. So they fight in front of City Hall. He throws fireballs at Batman. I don't know if they got it mixed up with Firefly, honestly, because he's literally flying around and shooting fire at Batman and looking like a bug. But
that was the
thing, Killer Moth.
Kind of, I thought too, where like in my head, like even though they said Killer Moth, in my head I was thinking obviously because I know more from the Arkham. Like obviously I'd seen him before that, but like in my head, whenever I was picturing, I was before they kind of described him more, I was kind of picturing something like how he looks in the Arkham games, where he's flying around with like the like the big like mechanical wings and everything. Yeah.
So we get Killer Moth in this, and also it was something we kind of both called it. We talked about this offline, but Killer Moth is protecting Camille because that's his daughter. And I was like, okay, so that kind of, because I was wondering, is like Camille going to turn out to be another character throughout all this? And technically, yes, actually, because Patreon patron Nolan Moore pointed out to me that this means that Camille is the Burtonverse predecessor to Kitten, the daughter of Killer Moth in the Teen Titans cartoon.
So, I love that episode. You've seen this, right?
I don't think I have, actually. I should probably.
Oh my god, go watch it, man! It's one of the best episodes of that show. It's really funny.
All right, let's talk about it in Patreon.
Yeah,
since it's related in some way to Batman Revolution, because I'm just laughing.
That's a great suit, by the way. They did a good job with this design for him in this show. Like that show is underrated, guys. Like I like Teen Titans Go the movies. That's a really fun one. But like if you're looking for just like a really, that's also I grew up with this. This was like my childhood, like with like Terra and everything. That was the first time I encountered Teen Titans with like Terra and everything. Like I remember that. But yeah, definitely underrated show. Check it out.
I'm just laughing because I'm picturing this as Camille and Killer Moth and Batman Revolution.
So you know what the storyline is here, right?
I don't. I didn't really know about this until Nolan told me.
She wants to date Robin, and so she's like that. She's yelling at him here. She's like a brat. And it's like, I want to go on a dance with Robin. He's like, sure, kitten, is what he says. And then, like, Robin's forced to go, or else Killer Moth is going to blow up the city. And so, like, there's a moment where she's like, you could at least smile, Robin. He's like, sure. And he does, like, this, like, where, like, part of his face almost breaks and everything. It's like, you look great. And then Starfire's getting all, like, jealous and everything. It's a great episode.
I had to check it out.
Yeah, they go to a dance on the yacht. It's pretty great.
I'll check it out for Patreon. Yeah. I'd look forward to this. Killer Moth, I was not expecting, and I also think so many times Killer Moth is brought in just to be a joke. Yeah. And it was refreshing to see, we're going to honor the original Killer Moth, because I've brought this up maybe on here or maybe when talking to Nolan about it, but like the original Killer Moth is actually a really cool concept. I'm a sucker for like, a villain who like is a reflection on Batman. I guess that's all of them in some way, but like when they really try to make it a little bit more blatant. So in this case, like he's like the Batman for criminals, where like he protects the criminals. And in there, like he didn't even really have a real name at the time. Like I know the common name is Drury Walker, but in the original comics, he goes by the alias Cameron Van Cleer and is trying to pretend to be also this other rich dude. And I love the part in the original comic where it's like he's with Bruce Wayne and then they each go off and Bruce goes off to become Batman and Cameron goes off to be Killer Moth. And it's just, I'm like, the stuff like that is just so cool to me. And ironically, well, first off, I love the fact that Miller brought in the Cameron Van Cleer name as opposed to Drury Walker. It just has that ring to it. But also in the comics, that's a fake name for him. Like he's just using that alias when he's pretending to be this rich dude. In the novel, that's his real one. His real name is Cameron Van Cleer. And
wow.
Camille's real name is Emily Van Cleer in this. So that I thought was a cool aspect in terms of bringing in the comic book stuff and like doing a legit version of Killer Moth and not just having him show up to be, the guy Batman has to punch in order to like get to the rest of the story in the beginning. Like he really does have a cool role in this.
Definitely.
You were basically referencing earlier before the break a certain hand in Batman Returns.
Here's Fred's hand.
I couldn't believe this guy was actually not only in it, but had such a pivotal role in the plot. Fred Atkins, who we picture here, obviously not Penguin, but it's his hand. But Fred Atkins is actually introduced as a character. We meet him, and I was like, are they going to do the thing I think they're going to do, which was that like, are we going to see in the story the reason why Max kills him and dismembers him and stuff? And turns out,
honestly,
I was right.
I'm gonna say this, and this is a crazy thing to say. I don't blame Max for what he did.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm like, this guy sucks. Like, I get
it. Right? Like, I think Alfie agrees, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm Fred's hand.
Alfie's like, yes.
Alfie's like, no, kill him. But yeah,
it's like Two-Face. It's like, justice is served. Let him die.
That's funny because Max Schreck is arguably like the actual villain, even more so than Penguin in Batman Returns. It's arguable. I mean, Penguin does want to blow up the city and kidnap all the firstborns and kill all of them, so it's not like he's completely
Fred's on vacation. He's good.
But Penguin at least has some elements of like, okay, like of something to feel sorry about for him. Selina, obviously. Max, there really wasn't anything. Like it was kind of designed, as Daniel Waters said, to have it where the most evil person of the story was the one who isn't even in a costume.
And that's such a Burton thing. That's such a Burton thing, by the way, to have the so-called the normies be the villain, basically.
Totally. And so what Miller does here, to harken back to what you said about Fred, is that in some ways he gives Max a villain that makes us kind of be like, all right, maybe Max Schreck isn't so bad.
Yeah. The guy is he would not survive in the Me Too culture, is all I'm gonna say. Right. Like with some of the stuff for Fred sucks, man.
Yeah, but he intentionally so from Miller's standpoint.
Oh yeah.
We get the governor. We have a character named Governor Hodge who comes in, who's supposed to be like this older lady. And I'm wondering, we can ask John Jackson Miller this. I'll bring this up. In my head, I'm picturing Juno from Beetlejuice. The one she's in the memes being like, not bad, not bad. The one who's like got the chain smoker voice.
Oh, okay.
I'm picturing her as the governor to this because it seemed like she had that personality, and she obviously doesn't clearly get along with certain people in this. Yeah. So it was. I thought it was a cool thing to visualize. I don't know if that was deliberate or if I was just plugging in and I'm like, okay, who's an old lady in a Tim Burton movie? Oh, her.
Good old Mayor Borg, huh? She hates it. Do you read me? Or I can't really do his voice, but yeah.
Mayor Borg and his ulcers. I was wondering if he was going to get killed off too, because I'm just like, well, he's not the mayor anymore in Batman Returns, and you've got Jenkins, but Miller found another way to do it without killing people off, which I appreciate, honestly.
Yeah, he had a big opportunity. Like, I know you're going to get to it, but the villain plot in this is pretty nuts.
Yeah, he did, but he didn't. I was wondering if there was temptation too to use Governor. So there's a governor named Governor Gilroy in the Sam Hamm draft for '89, but he goes with his own version of it, and I think maybe he just didn't want to feel like he was riffing too much off of
kind of make it his own, basically.
Yeah. At Wayne Manor, Bruce sets up the mirrors on the roof so that he can see the signal when it shines, which is planted in Returns. And again, people have criticized in Returns, like Bruce it seems like he's kind of careless to just have the bat signal on his rooftop. But the intention, and it's not clear for the movie, I admit, the intention was that it's like a mirror, so that when the bat, that's Alfie again.
He's gonna show you your mirrors, basically.
Basically, with the mirrors, they reflect the bat signal when it's up. So you just see mirrors, and which evokes Eccentric Millionaire. But then it would
mirrors
reflect the bat signal into the room, which is what you see in Batman Returns. So
it looks like spotlights in the action. I think it is in the movie. Like, it's supposed to obviously be mirrors, but like when you look at it, it's like, could they not like reflect it in some way? It looked convincing. It looks like they just made it spotlights. I'm like, you guys kind of found some way to visually kind of make it a little bit more clear those were supposed to be mirroring. Like, maybe but like even just take that, just have like they couldn't have like done like some sort of like, I don't know, like some superimposing and have like the thing right there, and then I don't know, man.
I don't know that you can see too in like, I think it's concept art or something like that. We went over it before in a past episode, but like you can see in concept art, there's no bat insignia on them. It's just it's supposed to be a mirror, and I think I confirmed that with either Tim Flattery or Tom Duffield, who was the art director on it. But either way, that's the intention, and so Miller stayed true to that. Clearly, he knows what he's doing, because he easily could have said, like, he put the bat signal on the rooftop, and I would have been like, okay. But again, he knows what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We get the canonized, well, not canonized, is the already established in our minds at this point in 2026, the Iron Maiden style entrance from Batman Returns is here, but also he puts in the comic book grandfather clock entrance. And, presumably when Alfred tells Bruce, I'll take the stairs in Batman Returns, he goes through the grandfather clock one and not the Iron Maiden type one.
That makes sense.
That was cool. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. That was cool to have that linking, basically. And it makes sense too. It's like it's a big house. You probably have two different entrances.
Yeah. So that does make a lot of sense. And during this, we have a confrontation between Bruce Wayne and Norman Pincus, the Riddler, where he reveals that he knows that the second man at the Wayne murders was Joe Chill, and he had tried to tip the police off about it, and they didn't do anything. Yeah, and I was like, wow, okay. Like I had a feeling when they started the references to the second mugger that I'm like, oh, Riddler's going to figure that out, or has figured it out, and that's going to be part of the plot. I just didn't know how, because it's so established that he's such a great detective, and he has this interest in the Wayne murders in the prologue that I'm like, okay, like I see where this is going, but you don't really know how well it's going to be executed until you get there. And I think it is really well done here. And I like how Miller doesn't just make Joe Chill Jack Napier 2.0, where it's just like, all right, well, now I got to confront this guy and send him falling off the Gotham Cathedral rooftop too. Like it's done in a very different way. Which again, you have to do it in terms.
He
of
drops him in the prison that he finds him in
after he does that smile. Like he does the strong man in Batman Returns. So that was a great moment. Cameron Van Cleer, the Killer Moth guy, is sort of fleshed out more. Bruce identifies him by that name, and it's revealed that he was the inventor of what's called the Zephyrus turbine, which enables his whole like jetpack and flight capability. And it's not clear here because Penguin's not in the novel, but I did kind of wonder. I was like, oh, like, is that also meant to explain the helicopter umbrella that Penguin has? because you could say that is another form of the Zephyrus turbine. So maybe.
Didn't even think about that. Fair enough.
Yeah. Another Easter egg is Harvey Dent. His future as Two-Face is hinted at when they talk about like, oh, Dent was heroic and while also calm, as well as calculating the odds when he's held hostage. Like there's some stuff about how he's like, some not necessarily Two-Face
cycling between two kind of different sides to himself, basically.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
Additional Batman Returns references. There's the corn dog thing that you brought up, which again, I never thought we'd see Alexander Knox reacting to corn dog.
So funny.
We have Selina correcting Knox that she's an executive assistant. We have Knox saying the party never stops on his answering machine either, which is then, a reference to Batman Returns where she says the party never stops on Selina Kyle's answering machine in Batman Returns. So that's all there. But there's also references. It feels like I don't know for sure, but it feels like references to Sam Hamm's Batman 2 script that wasn't made because we got Alfred being held hostage in Wayne Manor. We got the caves.
Connecting.
Connecting and being revealed to be having been used for another purpose in history. So in the Sam Hamm script, it was that hey, the cave has this treasure that the 5 families of Gotham once stole that's hidden down there. And in this one, it's obviously not the same, but it's more like, oh, like this was used in the Revolutionary War. And like your ancestor's servant helped, the revolution and was never given credit, like that type of stuff. So I thought that was kind of a cool connection there too.
Definitely.
I'm sure you caught this, but at one point, Fred Atkins says, you need all hands. And then he repeats the line, all hands. And I was like, okay, I see what you're doing there, Miller.
Yeah, I was like, all right. There are some dad jokes in this book. I'm not going to lie.
Another great joke is where the guys at Gotham Globe are watching the Riddler and they don't necessarily recognize that it's Norman Pincus. They think it might be. And then they're just like, they're talking about a newsroom not recognizing or being fooled by just a pair of glasses, which of course is a Superman reference.
There's they also obviously mention like one of the solutions to one of the questions is the Daily Planet and everything in Metropolis. I was kind of like, that was good. And like you get them in the later Schumacher stuff, like with the Superman references, but it's kind of nice. And then did you think, because I think maybe I missed something, but there is one moment where like somebody mentioned something about knowing some like reporter or somebody somewhere, and I thought in my head like they mean like Jimmy Olsen or something. Like there was maybe a moment later on. I don't know if they said Metropolis or not. Maybe I was reaching just because I wanted
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, no, I'd have to look back. Maybe.
But
that's what we'll do in the Newverse media version. Let's see. Do you think this is a slight tangent? Maybe we should say this on Patreon, but whatever. Okay, so Superman in this universe, there's kind of a debate because sometimes people are just like, oh, it would have been really cool to have Christopher Reeve and Michael Keaton. And then other people are like, no, it can't be like that because Tim Burton wanted Nicolas Cage. So in my mind, though, I'm just like, look, these things didn't happen. So can it be both?
Yeah.
Like, isn't it more enriching as a fan when you just entertain all possibilities as opposed to like, no, because of this and that, the canon is this thing, and you can't do XYZ or team up this version of the character, that version of the character. I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? It's all fan fiction at this point anyway. It's not like Christopher Reeve is going to come back from the dead to do a crossover with 70 plus Michael Keaton.
Yeah, seriously. And it's like, even then, it's like you said, it's whatever. It's kind of like when people like you'll see Alex Ross does this too with the 90s Flash show where he ties all like, the Linda Carter Wonder Woman with like the Flash from the 90s show, and then Christopher Reeve and then like Batman from the 89 movies and everything. It's just like, it's whatever you want. There was no way they're ever going to connect them anyway. So if you want them to be like that theoretical Superman Nicolas Cage version, or if you want it to be, honestly, if you want to see something where it's the Christopher Reeve and Michael Keaton Batman, there are a lot of really good fan trailers online I've seen where they edit together those two characters really well. So like that's out there too if you want to see something like that.
Yeah, and they co-starred in a movie together called Speechless. Yeah, it's called Speechless. And they have a scene. It's on YouTube. I might link it to you after this. But yeah, that's the closest that we got to that. But I'm like, yeah, like with this type of stuff, people got to realize it can live in the fans' heads for a while. And like timeline wise, like yeah, that Alex Ross art is really cool. And people are like, well, that should have been done. And I'm like, well, yes, but you also logistically, you're talking about Superman and Wonder Woman from the 70s.
Yeah.
And Batman and Flash from the 90s. Like we're in.
I mean, Linda Carter looks great, but like there'd be like she'd look a little older by then. Well, I don't know because she looked great in the early 2000s. Though,
to be fair, to be fair, Reeve looks pretty good too. Obviously, pre the accident, the terrible accident. But he
they could have pulled it off. But would they have done it? Is the thing. Like it's all they weren't thinking like that back then. Just as much as we'd like to see it, that wasn't really a priority for them.
Yeah, exactly. I think we get so ingrained in like, oh well, like the MCU had all these things and these are all connected that we like to think that way in the 90s, but it's really like trying to force a 2026 lens on the 90s at a time where like they weren't ready for this. They weren't trying to set anything up. They weren't trying to they did Batman 89, but they didn't know for sure that there was going to be a sequel. Like one point they thought it was going to be a disaster.
The Harvey Dent thing, like even just to prove like that they weren't thinking ahead. Like they had Harvey Dent in 89 and then like he didn't show up in Returns or anything. They weren't even thinking about that. And maybe one day, but say they hadn't ever made like the third one. It's like they weren't, there was much more. People are so, like you said, Marvel brain and MCU stuff where like there's setup and payoff and stuff. I'm like, they were just, it's much more kind of like how Nolan does his movies, or at least did the Batman movies, where like the first one, he just made a complete movie. If they make another one, fine, basically. But like that wasn't his goal to like have this continuous story. And then the next one, and then like the third one, like each one is kind of its contained story that works perfectly on its own, except for Dark Knight to an extent. Like the ending for that is really good, but if there had never been a follow-up, they'd be like, okay, it was still really good, but you kind of do need that other half to be like, what, he just kept running from the cops forever, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's even more. The 90s stuff was probably even more removed from Nolan, just because you do see those connections that are done really well because of the fact that it's the same guy doing all the movies. But then, there are some subtle references to the Burton stuff and the Schumacher ones, but even though we've emphasized like, hey, like the Burton stuff is still connected to the Schumacher, or like they were the intended sequels. I can see easily why people are like, well, they're kind of separate, or feels kind of separate. Like even usually kind of feels they're separate, just because like, sure, there's those references, but it could also still work without them. Like it's still, or they could not necessarily be like Skin Tight Vinyl and a Whip can be referencing a different Catwoman that Val Kilmer, might have been with, but whatever. Like it's what you make of it. If you want to create your own Schumacher version of 89 and Returns, then, or some version of him encountering Joker, Penguin, and Catwoman that's different from 89 and Returns, then knock yourself out, because these universes aren't, that even on Newverse, like we're still fans who are just creating shit. Like it's not the number one canon unless you think it is. We try to act as if it is, but it's whatever you make of it. So we're trying to make the most of it.
So make it a good one, Marty.
Yeah. Thanks, Doc. So we've got a bunch of people watching this Riddler telecast, and one of them is Edward Nigel Maynard from Echoes, who is a fan of this Riddler, but is going to be showing up in Echoes. Now, I personally don't find this that weird. Some people are just like, it's weird. This Riddler doesn't connect to the other one, or they're two separate people. But I was like, there's a lot of Batman villains who all have the same name. There's multiple versions of Clayface. There's two Black Masks. There's even, this is more obscure, but like there's multiple versions of Two-Face. If you look,
that's what I was about to bring up. Yeah.
There's a Paul Sloan. There's George Blake. There's his butler. Like there's all these other versions of Two-Face. So like, okay, there's more than one Riddler. To be fair, he's never called Riddler in Echoes, but he does have this big fat green question mark on his face.
What, really?
And call yeah.
They never call him Riddler?
No, he's never called Riddler. He does.
That's ridiculous.
He does do a crossword and that says by Enigma, and then tells Bruce that it's because his name is Edward Nigel Maynard. However, in this continuity, it looks more like he just calls himself Enigma because he's a fan of those Enigma crosswords growing up. Not growing up, but like from earlier, and he's just trying to make some of his own. But they never actually address him as Riddler. They just call him Maynard in Echoes.
That's ridiculous. Are they ever planning on? Sorry, are they ever planning on like him like coming? Is it one of those things where he's fully formed, or are they like I don't know? Like it's like Riddler later.
He's not nearly as fleshed out as Norman Pincus, and a lot of that is because he's not the main villain of Echoes, and Echoes is a 6-issue comic series with a bunch of other characters to be brought in, as opposed to a 500+ page novel where you can develop the character. So, in comparing Riddlers, I told this to Ian Miller recently, but you know that coughing baby versus nuclear bomb or atomic bomb meme. I would say Maynard is the coughing baby, and Norman Pincus is the atomic bomb when it comes to characterizations, because he's just so much more fleshed out. And nothing too much against nothing. I don't want to seem like I'm harping too much on Sam Hamm and Joe Quinones. They're obviously friends of the podcast. We've had them on there. He's just not the focus of Echoes. Echoes is a story with
no offense, guys. By the way, like I'm just
please
sorry. I'm a fan, so I'm just sometimes we get like passionate about this.
Sam Hamm's going to be like Ruben and be like, so your new co-host hates my Riddler.
Yeah. By the way, Ruben, that's just a recurring bit. Me and you are cool. Like I enjoy hearing from you.
So, but yeah, this Martin Short Riddler I thought was really cool when he was introduced in Echoes, and to me it made sense because I'm just like, okay, technically it was Joel Schumacher's choice as Robin Williams, and Martin Short worked with Tim Burton in Mars Attacks. Burton and Robin Williams never worked together, so it made a lot of sense to me. And I was really looking forward to seeing more, but I kind of understood like it's a Scarecrow story. It's supposed to be about Scarecrow and Harley Quinn and all these other characters. So I kind of knew he was just kind of going to be set up, but not really fleshed out much, other than just having this question mark on his face.
By the way, let's talk about the different Riddlers for a second. So like this one obviously is more, I would assume, probably more violent or has more violent tendencies, like the Maynard one. And the one in the book is like much more like he's just much more about like liberating people. He's not really into like the violent stuff. If anything, Camille kind of convinces him or pushes him along to do a lot of that stuff. He's much more just seems more altruistic or a lot less like lethal than like Riddler normally is. And even then, like he is trying to help people in his own way. He's much more of like a prankster type character in this versus like anyone that's like actually like a real threat, basically.
He's like a more redeemable version of what Paul Dano's Edward Nashton was trying to go for in terms of like, like he's who Edward Nashton was delusional enough to think he was, in terms of like, because like he's like our Edward in that movie. Like, are you really doing this for the greater good? Not really. You're just doing this because you were traumatized and you want revenge and you want to kill a bunch of people. That's why it escalates to the point where he floods the city. It becomes no longer about killing these specific people who wronged the city. Now it becomes like, all right, well, now you're also going to make the whole city be punished. I'm like, all right, well, this has gone really south at this point because he's that twisted. But here, this version of Riddler, when he sees like, like innocent people are going to die, he's like, and then he really does get his earlier dream. He really gets to see that come true in teaming up with Batman.
Yeah,
because then he's like, well, then we got to stop him. Like this can't be, because like arguably Camille's more of the villain here in terms of wanting to kill people and hurt innocent people.
Definitely, that was like, and then also the Smilex, like tying that all back with like her final plot is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that too. So like you said, pretty nuts on that.
She got nuts.
and
Let's get nuts.
he got nuts. Miller got nuts. That'll be
Yeah.
our compliment to him when he gets on. But yeah, I think you're right. I think if Norman is supposed to be the intellectual, redeemable side of Riddler, Maynard is kind of set up to be like this guy could be the bad news. This guy could be the more violent stuff, but just based off of what I've seen in Echoes.
Definitely.
There's an interesting reference where it says Batman once developed a suit in his early years that he then decided was too thin, and then he converted it to scuba gear, and then he references wearing it to go look at this ship. And so I figured, okay, maybe there's a reference to the deep dive suit as well as this early Caped Crusader suit in the Flash that was kind of a combination of the Golden Age suit with the ears matched with like the Adam West insignia on it. There's a lot of different references on here. I even have it's not a Funko, but it's like this chibi version of it over here. But yeah, I did the audio drama of Batman 89, Case of the Chemical Syndicate, where we said like, hey, like if he wore the suit, maybe he got to investigate that case. So we did that over at Newverse Media, and we might have some other plans for that. But that is something that I was thinking about in this book when it was referencing an earlier suit than the black armored suit that we see in 89. And I think it's a cool reference. We can ask him if that's what he intended, but I'm sure he's just going to say that it can be whatever we want it to be.
Yeah, he's like, sure.
Novel. Yeah.
Whatever.
Suddenly I become the fan who gets too wrapped up in canon.
Yeah.
I'm
going to make it that when I write it.
Exactly. There's a reference to Knox saying 6 is good from Batman 89. Where I'm just like, great. Oh, wow. Yeah. Because Batman accidentally repeats the phrase to Knox, and then he's like, oh, shit. Like, does this mean that Knox is going to figure it out? Which he did in the original Sam Hamm script, but it's not clear if Knox connected that when Batman says that. So it's kind of left ambiguous.
Yeah.
Batman is said to use that Zephyrus turbine from Cameron Van Cleer, and he uses it to fly in what sounds like, to me, a makeshift whirly bat in the third act. It was like his personal helicopter. I was like, that would be amazing. It's just kind of hilarious to picture the Michael Keaton Batman in this, but it is planted well in terms of the turbine.
I could see Burton kind of somehow making this like a gothic version of it. Like maybe it's got more of like a shield on the front or something. It's just something to make it a little bit more gothic inspired or something.
Yeah, I can see that. And then you can easily see Keaton in like the face that he's making when he's flying the Batwing in 89 as he's like, rotating above Gotham and stuff and trying to steer this thing towards the revolutionaries. At one point, Batman does his famous Keaton back fist to one of the revolutionaries, which is, it's a move we saw in 89, but does get replicated in Batman the Animated Series. And it's something that's mentioned here. There's also another reference and foreshadowing when Shrek talks about, or it's talked about Shrek's quote unquote shiny baubles. Which that always stood out to me when I saw Batman Returns, like offering shiny baubles, and I'm like, what are baubles? What the hell is he talking about? Balls?
That's Christopher Walken. Who knows?
Yeah. And then the Shreks have Fred get chopped up.
That was pretty dark. Like I was waiting for it, but I was just like, whoa, especially because I listened to the audiobook.
Yeah.
And like he just like has this reoccurring thing where he keeps calling him Buddy Boy the whole time, and then at the end, like after he's like throw him in the sewer or something, you hear like Max Shrek kind of ironically use it to Chip and everything, like, oh Buddy Boy, thanks, and everything. Like I was like, nice, like this was good.
But one of the things that happens afterwards is that they get the Batmobile blueprints. And they
filled in this plot hole.
I called this in an earlier conversation we had with, I think it was with Nolan or somewhere. It's on record. There's a conversation, there's a chat we have where I call it that Miller was going to explain that Max Shrek was going to get the blueprints, and then right afterwards is you predicting that Riddler was going to go after Max Shrek. So both of us were right. But this is cool. It explains this because people are just like, how the hell did they get the blueprints to the Batmobile in Batman Returns? And Craig Shaw Gardner tried to explain it in the novelization by saying like it was a disgruntled employee who was the original designer of the Batmobile, and Miller brings that in by saying like it was found by this hobo who claimed to be the car's designer. So he's bringing in a little bit of that novelization. So that was great.
Yeah.
That's good. Knox gets a happy ending, thank God, because I thought like I didn't think that he was going to go full Daniel Waters and crucify him on a bat signal for all of Gotham to see. But I was like, yeah, maybe he's going to get killed when I first heard that they were going to do these books. But then as I got further, I'm like, he likes him too much. I can tell he likes him too much as Knox. But like maybe it'll be a tragic ending. Maybe we're supposed to all like him more, and then he dies. But thankfully, that's not what happened. His absence gets explained as he gets another. Gets to go off on a more glamorous type of assignment, and it's just a good ending for Knox for this. So I like that. Mayor Borg decides no longer to be mayor. He's got way too much stress going on, considering what happened from '89 through this. And Roscoe Jenkins gets his first run as the mayor. So that sets up how he becomes the mayor for Batman Returns.
It was disheartening at the end because I was like, oh man, he's probably like, I hope he writes another one. But I'm like, the way this kind of ends, it kind of like you could write it to where like, or like look at it as like, well, it kind of fills in the gap between the two or the two movies. And I'm like, I mean, you could have like another like small story, or like you could find another way to like, extend it out a little bit longer, maybe just not focus on Shrek and Selena and still like tell another story in that world before Returns, basically.
Yeah. Or set up other stuff that's in the comics, because again, this is all connected.
That's true.
Some people have brought up how Harvey Dent seems like has a good relationship with Batman in these books, but then in the comics, he's just like, we got to take down Batman.
Yeah.
In Shadows. And so it's just like, okay, like, is that an inconsistency? Not if you write what could have been the falling out between the two of them before Shadows.
That's true.
So that's a possibility. Or maybe we'll cover it in Newverse. But there's all different possibilities we could do with that. And he's connecting more to Echoes. We got Hugo Strange has kind of taken over Arkham Asylum a little bit, which explains how he's sort of seen as the former director in Echoes.
I'm glad that misdirect didn't happen, by the way, at first, when you see like afterwards when he gets injured. Norman, and he's in there and like he's like, oh man, he's gonna become a pawn and everything, and then like you find out later it's like, oh, at first you're like, oh no, he's gone, like he's actually more damaged like Norman is, but like it was all an act basically, and then he's actually okay, and then like it's so good. He gets his happy because he has that whole thing with like the Hollywood wanting that dream and everything, and at the end he talks to that nurse who clearly kind of like I could see some flirtatious kind of like thing happening with the two of them. And like the whole thing, have you ever been to Hollywood and everything? Like, yeah, Norman's gonna be all right, basically. Like it was one of those where I was actually so happy to see him get like somewhat of a happy ending after all the shit he'd been through. Like,
for sure. Him and Carlo Clayface, like who comes back.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It's a fun cameo. It's a little it's him repeating what he does in the first book where he pretends to be Hugo Strange. And here he pretends to be Riddler, but it's cool to see Carlo back. But Carlo and Norman are the ones who are the most sympathetic, who do get a happy ending, which is cool. I really like that.
It also feeds into the whole thing of like Batman not just being a heartless like vigilante who goes and beats people. Like some of the best episodes of the Batman animated series is when he shows like deep empathy for his villains and everything.
Sure. Yeah. I think too, some of that is Miller bringing that in because we didn't get a lot of that in the Burton films. Right? Like we've kind of talked about it in terms of we have this episode about like who's the most heroic of the Batman in terms of compassionate. I'm like, well, Keaton doesn't really rank too much up there because of the fact that they were trying to emphasize, he's the dark version, so they're not going to have as much of those aspects of it, and it's cool to kind of see that connect a little bit more with this. With the ending at Arkham Asylum with Norman too, again, it's another thing where I'm like, this is kind of the inverse of Batman Forever, where in Batman Forever, Jim Carrey's Riddler, his mind really is lost due to all the stuff that happens with the box. But here, Norman's just pretending. so that Hugo Strange doesn't use him. I've
an Easter egg I forgot real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
So there's a part where like there's that mania, right, for for Riddler and everything, and then there's a part where they have like they're talking about like everyone's into like the question marks and everything. It's like some people are so much a fan of it that they're cutting the question marks into their hair and everything.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I was
I forgot
just
about that,
like I was like the 89 parallel with with people doing that and just like cutting the bat symbol into their hair and everything. Like I immediately had that moment where I was just like, nice, like that was a nice little moment, and also just showing like how a cold personality like that can kind of like take over an area where everyone's like becoming obsessed with the Riddler and everything.
That, and it was reported that Jim Carrey wanted to shave the question mark into his head, but then he couldn't because he was going through divorce proceedings, and so he didn't want to do that. Which means we wouldn't have gotten at least I don't know what part they would have done it, but I'm picturing the end. So I'm like, probably means we wouldn't have gotten the big red hair and the glittery suit in Batman Forever. So I think that was a worthy trade, honestly. I don't really need Riddler to have a question mark on his face or head or anything like that.
Or a question mark tattoo on his stomach, like in the Joker graphic novel.
That shit is just... God.
Yeah, that was cringy. Anyway.
Comic. But anyway, I've seen so many Hugo Strange weirdness things. Some of this is Gotham, where Gotham had Hugo Strange, BD Wong's Hugo Strange, just flat out resurrect people. And I was wondering if Miller was going to set up an even bigger connection between Norman and Maynard. I'm like, oh shit, is he going to transfer Norman? Because Norman's body is damaged. I'm like, oh shit, is he going to transfer Norman's brain into Maynard's body? And that explains why he's the Riddler in Echoes. It's just Norman trapped inside this other guy's body. But I was kind of relieved, honestly, that wasn't the case.
I was glad he was okay, man. Same thing with the whole thing with Knox, and like the kind of friendship that him and Selena develop is kind of nice. And then like we kind of touched on this a little bit, but like just especially like listen to the audio, but just the tragedy of like hearing Norman, because like obviously Knox puts it together that Norman is the Riddler and everything, and like the whole thing where they hear that last call where like Selena's just like, listen to how broken he sounds, like after he got fired and then also lost his mom all in the same day, basically, and just like how sad and like the sympathy that she feels for him makes you like it. I'll say it again, like it's like it makes you feel even worse for Selena Kyle because she is like such a kind-hearted person, basically.
Yeah, right. Like it really fleshes out who Selena was before Batman Returns, as well as who she was outside of her being abused by Shrek. Because that's really, I mean, there's some hints of it for sure in the voicemails that she's listening to, but we don't really get a lot. And again, like they have a small amount of time. It wasn't really the point. The point was to try to get her to become Catwoman. Right. So I'm not really criticizing Daniel Waters here, but Miller carves out an opportunity to really flesh her out and justify why she's in the story in a way that wasn't expected. You know, it wasn't expected by any of us. Man, that phone call scene, man. I was so picturing, you know, you got young 90s Robin Williams, like beaten down with like the rain is hitting him, on his hair. He's just like slumped over in a phone booth with like his head on the glass. Like that's what I was picturing in that scene. It was so vivid to me when I was reading that. So that was cool.
Man, can't wait for like I said before, can't wait to see that adapted, especially with how you're describing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's audio, so we won't necessarily be able to bring that to life, but
I mean, you have like the rain pouring and everything, you know.
Yeah, that's true. The book does end with Batman finding a black stray cat in the Batmobile, so it's intended to be foreshadowing of his future with Catwoman.
Kitty. He said something like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
Not this time, Kitty.
Yeah.
John Jackson Miller has said there are only 2 books, but who knows what the future has in store. We hope that there's more. More. Potentially, like me. I don't know what's going on in terms of if there's anything after 89 Echoes, but hey, like what if they gave him permission to be like, all right, you now have the reins of what happens afterwards, so that Echoes doesn't have to be the end. But in terms of timeline, presumably, you know, I already brought up 89. The movie takes place around the fall of 89. if we're going by real life years. So this takes place in the summer of 1990. Batman Returns, again, presumably doesn't take place until Christmas 1992. So we do have the rest of 1990, all of 1991, and everything in 1992 up through Christmas to potentially cover in terms of what could have happened. So, Selina's going to be working for Max, unfortunately, for another couple years before she becomes Catwoman and ends up killing him. And then 89 Shadows takes place in Halloween 1993 because it's said to be about a year after Returns. And then Echoes takes place 2 years after that. So that's either late 1995 or early 1996.
That's
so
crazy.
That's the timeline for this world. And with that, that is superhero stuff you should know. We made it. All right, so big thanks to Dan, our producer and editor, for editing this. As usual, join us on our Patreon for our deeper dive, where we'll go more into the Batman 66 characters of the Archer, Bookworm, Kitten from Teen Titans. I announced already that I'll be.
You deserve to watch it.
I deserve to watch a good Teen Titans episode. Yeah. And I also thought about this because we had a conversation with our Patreon patron and friend and your co-host Brady about like Alexander Knox and characters in the comics. I was like, should probably do a mini deep dive in terms of like these obscure comic book characters that Alexander Knox resembles and why I prefer Knox over them.
I love Knox.
Nostalgia. Yeah. All right. A few announcements before we get to the comments and stuff. Charity wise, we didn't, again, our usual thing. This is not a word from our sponsor, rather a charity promotion. And since we believe that if you read or watch anything about superheroes, you should become one yourself, just like Bruce Wayne and just like who Norman Pincus wanted to be in this. And so we brought them up before, but since this is one that's kind of personal for me, I decided to bring them back again. It's Blood Cancer United, formerly known as the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. It's a charity for resources, support, and advocacy for those who are affected by blood cancers. Personal for me because I'm a survivor of Hodgkin's lymphoma myself, and I've had members of my family who have passed from blood cancers or leukemia. So please follow them at bloodcancerunited.org and donate. Be a superhero. Donate what you can. Help support this charity.
Right.
Let's see. Outside of that, you have some plugs, Alex.
That's right. So if you guys are a fan of superheroes, which I know you are, we have Flashbacks. I recently released 2 episodes last year to kind of cap out our coverage, at least for the 2025 year. And then pretty soon, stay tuned. In January, we'll have 2 new episodes. We're slowly but surely making our way through the 2nd season, and pretty soon we'll be on to the 3rd. And then also, if you like Batman, which you're watching this, so I assume you do, Night of the Batman, we got a new episode with it's like Batman and Superman, the Men of Steel, part 2 of a 2-part crossover where we talk about the 90s Carl Kessel, World's Finest run. I don't know if you've heard of that, Ben.
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've read that one.
It's good. It's the storyline is like it takes place like each year, like they meet up basically, and it's like a year in their lives. Like it goes across, like it spans a few years. So it starts out with their like first meet and then goes all the way up to like the 90s. It's written in the 90s, so it goes all the way up to like the 90s era, and then like to like modern day, which is like I think 99 or something like that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, interesting read. And then What Mean will eventually come back. That's like movies, TV, basically anything I feel like talking about. And also, if you're a fan of a rewatch podcast, I have another one for you. It's called Review More Girls with my wife and her cousin, where they review every episode of the Gilmore Girls. So definitely check that out. And that's about it for me. On to you, Ben.
Nice. For this show, I'll be coming back to Cinephile on Friday, January 23rd for a screening of the Dolph Lundgren Punisher 1989, the work print cut. It's an extended cut of the film.
I got that one.
An opening that, it's got an extended opening that you don't see in the other versions. And we have a live Q&A with actress Kim Miori, who played the villain Lady Tanaka in that film. So our next episode will be the footage of that interview. And then Alex and I will then sit down and discuss the differences, the different cuts, and it's our first Punisher episode of all time, and on the show, so I'm
Woo!
excited to dive in. And I know you love this one too.
Definitely.
It's an underrated, it's an underrated gem. Really, is this version of the Punisher that I don't think gets overlooked a lot because he's not wearing the skull shirt. But there's so much more to this character than just the skull. But anyway, that's a
He
story.
barely wears it in the Netflix, or not even Netflix anymore, in the Marvel TV version. Yeah,
he spends most of his time trying not to wear it.
Seriously.
In that version, I'm like, this is a quick tangent. I tried watching Punisher season 2, and I was just like, this feels like they tried to do Jack Reacher, but a very slow season of Jack Reacher.
I really tried to, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was trying. I'm like, this is fine. I could just be watching so many other things right now, basically.
I could be rewatching Punisher 89, or
Yeah,
actually
seriously.
really any of the Punisher movies. Honestly, Tom Jane, all right.
The first season was good. The first season of Punisher, I thought was solid.
I wanted to watch the rest of that season. Yeah, like I'll give that. Like I wanted to watch how everything played out in that one. Season 2, I rarely just like drop in the middle of a season. I at least try to like, all right, here's my end point. Is the end of this season. I'm done with this.
I couldn't even get through episode 1 or 2 of Iron Fist. I gave up.
Man.
I was like, fuck this.
I should have done what you did. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, you watched it? You watched the whole thing?
I didn't watch I stopped midway through, so I got a little further than you, but then eventually I was just like, okay, this is stupid. He spent the entire episode in this hotel room. Like, what the hell?
I did finish the
not
what was that one where they all teamed Defenders? It was where they all teamed up.
Yeah,
that was solid. I liked that one, but even that one was kind of flawed. But even that was at least watchable. Yeah. I love that Stick calls Iron Fist a thundering dumbass and everything. That was probably one of the highlights of that series.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're probably not going to cover much of the Netflix version of Punisher, but we will cover the movies for sure. I really, I dig all of them. Really, I mean, yes, Warzone is flawed. It's the weakest out of the 3, but I still have stuff that I like about it. I have a lot of affection for the Tom Jane one. Oh yeah, check it out. Let's see. Also, brought it up in one of the breaks, but the Arkham tapes. I'm back in the Arkham tapes. It's that analog horror series on the Batfeed YouTube channel. I'm back as the voice of the Batman in the Arkham tapes in an episode that should be released by the time of this. I'm not quite sure, but it has the Tim Drake Robin, and I've already been contacted about like some future stuff that we're doing. So I'm really excited about that. And then in terms of Newverse or Newverse Media, as they're now called, this one is related because we talked about this a little bit in Batman Revolution, but the latest audio drama on Newverse Media is Sam Hamm's Batman 2, the unmade Batman's return script. I'm back as the voice of the Michael Keaton Batman. This was released like right before New Year's, a little bit after Christmas, and it's a fun one. It's a short one. It's only like 30 minutes long. I just do the voice. Tim did the adaptation, the writing of it. And there's some stuff that's a little different about the ending, but I think it's changes that were for the good. So we have a lot of exciting collaborations this year. Our adaptation of Batman Resurrection with Ian Miller. The scripts for that will probably be done by summer, and then as we're working on the production of that, we'll start working on Revolution, and then you'll hopefully get that pretty soon afterwards. So we'll see. That depends. Like, we got a bunch of other stuff going on too, but in general, we're going to be. I'm mainly in the worlds of Burton and Schumacher over at Newverse. I've contributed a little bit to other things like that Superman one, but I'm mostly entrenched in that, and that's probably where I'm going to stay for a long time.
Nice.
So on to the comments. Let's read these. I guess I'll go with this one since he addresses me. But Logan, one of our friends, Logan, says, literally was prepping to paint a massive desk and just put my headphones on when this dropped. Perfect timing when it came to the our last episode, which was the Captain America Albert Pune cut. In Ben we trust. Well, thank you, Logan. I hope you guys trust me if you've been part of
Logan's
this show.
Cool. I always like hearing from him.
Yeah. Cool. All right, you can take this one. He thanks both of us for that Captain America episode.
Oh, at Braxton Wages. Thanks, guys. This was very special. Nice.
Yeah.
Always appreciate hearing positive and negative. Send us all the hate you got, basically.
That'll be next episode.
Yeah, we'll read those too. Hater comments.
I will take Ruben's comment this time. So Awesome. I know people are like, why do you keep featuring Ruben? I'm like, well, if you want to, nobody's actually said that yet, but I'm like, if anyone thinks that, I'm like, well, if you leave a comment, I'll try to get to it. It's just that Ruben always comments, at least recently, because of his fan cast.
Yeah, Ruben. Anyway, I'm just playing, man. I like you, Ruben.
This is not a fan casting though. So he says,
Yeah,
awesome interview that Ben did, and Happy New Year. I have an idea. It's about your ideas on what happened to the OG Batman villain in Batman Beyond. Blight? Mr. Fix? Let us know who you're referring to in terms of the OG.
Wait, what's the question here? I have an idea. It's about your ideas on what happened to the OG. So does he want to hear like what we thought happened to the
That's what I
Batman
think.
villains?
Or he has an idea that he wants to pitch to us.
Let us know what you mean.
Let us know. Yeah, let us know.
Who would you fan cast as a Batman Beyond live action villain?
All right. Final lap here. We have the Patreon patrons. So go ahead, Norman Dingus.
Norman Dingus here. I can't do his voice, so I'm just gonna do Halsey D. Corbin, Slight Rebellion off Madison, Choco Milk, Super Inframan, Derek Osborne, Jason Price, Rebellious Monkey, 98, Cyber 6, Nick Gonzalez, Devin, Benjamin Vega, Tito G, Drew Griffin, is that the same? Like at 19?
Yeah, he's at 1995 Batman.
Gotcha. And then Ben Lee Page. Nice. Cool.
And thank you to our other supporters, Matt Herring, rest in peace, Leander Nicholson, Logan Wood, whose comment we addressed, Newverse Creative, we got to update that. We're now Newverse Media. Newverse Media now. Yes, Tim is now Newverse Media. And I'm happy to help out over there in writing.
Dan, cross that out. Put some After Effects where you cross that out with like a red X over it.
Yeah. Triple Threat Comics, The Bat Feed, Aaron Quinn, at Prof. E. Chicano Batman, Rob Ailing, Robert Schumann, Sparkageddon, Cookie Noms, Elijah B., Shamrock Balls, Ian H., Walter the Wobot, John Wells, Rye Guy, Jackson Putnam, Tway N., at StageBat, should be, at W.Media, Paul G., Sean Willits, Ruben A., and his fan casting, Yeet I., Mind Kidzag, Cole Watkins, the Yodel King himself.
Yes, Yodel King.
Ye Old King _ Creative Sparrow.
He's like, that's not my name. Stop saying that.
Neil, he hasn't said anything yet. But Neil at 1995 Batman, Cinephile Video, and Evan Z. The way that I typed it almost looks like we deleted somebody, but I don't think there's anybody who we deleted. Or maybe I'm wrong. But anyway,
let us know if we did. Did we delete you off this?
We'll leave you off next time.
Yeah.
Quick edit. It turns out we did leave someone off, and that's Tyler Sandifer. Sorry, Tyler. Among our other supporters, we also have another Patreon member who just joined right after we recorded this. His name is Michael Page. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you both for your support. Join us at Patreon, www.patreon.com/superheroSYSK. And you can follow our social medias at superheroSYSK. We're all over the place. So that is the handle that you can find us. And with that, I believe that we're wrapped. So just like we do in normal fashion, especially in an episode related to Batman, the Tim Burton 1989 Batman, we should say, we want you to do us a favor.
Do us a favor.
We want you to tell all your friends about
us. I didn't remember the line for a second, damn it.
Anyway. You got to do that in order to be the superhero stuff you should know.
I got to drop the voice down. Yeah, like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What are we? I'm Ben Wan.
And I'm Norman Dingus.
And this is superhero stuff
you should know.
See you guys.
See ya.